Stories of the advanced capabilities of the Hindu deities of old are found all throughout India. But just south of the Indian subcontinent lies the magnificent island country of Sri Lanka. This is a place known for its breathtaking landscapes, diverse culture, and various UNESCO World Heritage Sites. One of the most impressive places in Sri Lanka is Sigiriya, a site often named the eighth wonder of the world. Sigiriya was also home to an ancient city that sat atop the monolithic rock, towering 650 feet over the town of Dambulla in the Mattal district of Sri Lanka. The site attracts thousands of tourists daily and has been a UNESCO heritage site since 1982. Many believe that the giant monolithic rock looks unnatural because of its perfectly flat top, which almost looks like it's been cut at a precise angle. According to modern archaeologists, the earliest settlement on top of Sigiriya was the Lion's Fortress, built in the 5th century AD. The bulk of the site, its palaces, and its enormous granite water tank was constructed under the command of a rogue king known as Kashyapa. However, the locals believe this ancient site was built thousands of years before that by an ancient Hindu god named Ravana, who was part of a race of beings known as the Asura. These deities are said to have come down from the sky and ruled over portions of humanity. Is it possible that what we see today in Sigiriya is the remains of the ruined palace of Ravana? And could Sigiriya have been used by ancient civilizations and perhaps even by the Hindu deities thousands of years before King Kassapa built his fortress there? Before we find out, make sure to like this video and also subscribe to our channel so you can receive more videos like this one. The area surrounding Sigiriya shows signs of human habitation stretching back to the Mesolithic period, some 5,000 years ago. There is also evidence of the various rock shelters and caves in the area having been used by Buddhist monks in the last few centuries before the Common Era. Despite that, conventional archaeologists would have us believe that the site's first use was during the reign of King Kashyapa at the end of the 5th century. Kashyapa was king of Sri Lanka from 473 to 495 CE. And he only rose to power after organizing the assassination of his father. Before going on to usurp the throne from under his brother, who was the rightful heir, fearing for his life, legends state that King Kashyapa moved to the area surrounding Sigiriya. There he built a fortress on top of the megalithic rock, believing it would be impenetrable to his brother's army. However, Kashyapa's army was eventually defeated, and instead of being captured by the invading army, Kashyapa would commit suicide. After his death, his brother, Moggallana, gave the site of Sigiriya to the Buddhist monks, where it remained a monastery until the 14th century. The site of Sigiriya was abandoned at some point during the 15th century and remained uninhabited. Westerners first discovered the place when Jonathan Forbes, a major in the British Army, came across the site during a horseback ride. Following Forbes's discovery of the ancient ruins in Sigiriya, various Western archaeological crews performed small excavations on the area in the following years. They were baffled by what they found. There were various telltale signs of advanced engineering capabilities at Sigiriya. The ancient city had one of the best preserved examples of urban planning, and the site's layout shows techniques and technology that were far more advanced than what was thought possible during this time period. The city's layout boasts symmetrical and asymmetrical aspects, which builders intentionally put in place to work with the site's natural surroundings. There were various structures at the site, but archaeologists didn't know their purpose, so the general belief was that they were citadels, palaces, houses, and lavish gardens. One portion of the site resembles a step pyramid with features similar to those seen throughout Mesoamerica. On the city's west side lies another park, and here we find additional signs of advanced ancient engineering. The park contains various water-retaining structures, including a sophisticated hydraulic system that provided water to the gardens. This unique design was comprised of canals, lakes, dams, and even water pumps, showing that in-depth planning went into the construction of this site. Some of these hydraulic systems still provide water to the area even to this day. The many structures found on top of the monolithic rock were made from clay bricks. This baffles archaeologists as they struggle to explain how the ancient builders carried an estimated 3 million bricks to the top of the rock, as there were no signs of any stairways from the ground to the top. The metal stairways present at the site today were only built in the last century so tourists could visit the site. Without a proper stairway to the top, it seems an almost impossible task to cart the bricks or the materials to make them up through the thick forest and find a way to the top of the monolithic rock. While the bricks may seem like an impressive feature of the site, what's even more interesting is the huge blocks of white marble which make up many of the paths and palace steps of the settlement. The white marble used in construction is not native to the area, and archaeologists are still unsure of where the marble was sourced. Each of the marble blocks is extremely heavy, and there are thousands of them. So, how did these ancient builders get tons of heavy marble blocks to the top of the monolithic rock without any stairs? This has led many people to question the archaeological view of how this ancient city was built. With the modern metal stairs at the site, it can still take up to 2 hours to get to the top. So how did primitive peoples carry tons of materials there without any clear pathway? Various archaeologists have noticed strange tool marks which look like narrow channels all along the side of the rock. Archaeologists confirm that these markings were carved in ancient times, yet there is no answer as to how they were carved into the side of the rock at places where there are no slopes for humans to stand. There are also profound circular holes drilled into the monolithic rock close to its peak. Again, archaeologists struggle to explain how these holes were drilled with primitive tools. Additionally, near the drilled holes, we can find these strange groove marks. Their purpose, or how they were made, remains a complete mystery. Right next to the groove marks, we can find another drill hole, which goes very deep into the rock. All of these strange markings look like they were made with some sort of advanced machines that drilled the rock or even melted it. However, the most impressive feature of the entire site is not the bricks, marble blocks, or even unusual drill holes. Instead, it is an enormous granite water tank found in the middle of the site. From a distance, it would appear that this water tank was made from granite blocks, but as you approach the tank, you realize that it is actually carved into the extremely tough granite rock. The huge tank is 90 feet long, 68 feet wide, and almost 7 feet deep. This means over 3,500 tons of granite would have had to have been removed by hand to create this structure. Granite is one of the hardest stones on Earth. So, if humans of this period had been using primitive chisels and hammers, it would have taken years to remove. So did ancient workers really grind away for years to hollow out this granite tank? Or are we looking at evidence of some kind of advanced technology? If you visit the site and look at the granite pool, what you will notice is that there are no signs of chisel or hammer marks. Instead, you see long stretches of scoop-like marks that resemble those seen on megalithic sites in Egypt and Peru. Various scholars have suggested that the ancient builders knew how to manipulate the frequency of rocks, thus making them soft and much easier to transform and carve. Could this be how they removed so much granite from the top of Sigiriya? An impressive feature of the tank is that it never dries up, not even during the incredibly warmer season in Sri Lanka. Water always stays in the tank, which is an engineering marvel even to us with our modern technology. The tank appears to collect water through percolation, a process where liquid slowly passes through a filter. But the tank also has a drainage system underneath, which ensures it never overflows, even during Sri Lanka's wet monsoon season. All of these engineering marvels create many unanswered questions concerning the construction of the site of Sigiriya. From various unusual scoop marks on the granite to the vast amount of material required to build the many structures, all indicate that we are looking at a much more ancient site, possibly even one used in pre-Diluvian times. Could Sigiriya be the remnants of a now-lost ancient civilization that perished during a flood or natural catastrophe? Or could this site, high in the sky, have been used as a refugee site during the flood? The locals of the surrounding area not only believe this but have legends that suggest this was not only the work of an advanced civilization, but of one who came down from the heavens. As we have already mentioned, there are no signs of ancient steps leading to the top of the structure. Many researchers have suggested that because there were no stairs, the ancient builders of this site might have possessed anti-gravity technology and perhaps flying vehicles. This is an idea that has a parallel in various local traditions of the area. According to legends, the city of Sigiriya was created by a group of deities who descended from the sky. They came to earth and modeled Sigiriya on the abode of their god, Kuvera, who was the god of wealth. Various other local legends assure visitors that the city of Sigiriya is the palace of Ravana, an ancient god-king of Sri Lanka. The legend also states that the enormous granite tank was the swimming pool of Ravana, and that the oldest portions of the site were also built by him. According to ancient texts collected from the regions of Sri Lanka and India, Ravana was not born as a normal human, but instead, his ancestors came from the sky. It's said that Ravana belonged to a race known as the Asura, who were described in the Indian texts as powerful superhuman demigods who came to Earth thousands of years ago. Many believe these stories are not just mythology, but ancient historical accounts of otherworldly visitors who came to Earth. Is it possible that the Asuras were the original builders of Sigiriya? Builders who used advanced forms of technology to lift all of the material required for the city's construction. Throughout Hindu mythology, we can find numerous references to Vimanas, which were the flying vehicles the gods used to travel from heaven to earth and around the planet. One of India's most sacred texts, the Mahabharata, speaks of aerial cities which belong to the Asuras, the same race of gods that Ravana belongs to. Could it be possible that the Asuras used Vimanas to aid in the construction of the city of Sigiriya? Some sources claim that the Asuras were hybrid beings, and Ravana himself is sometimes referred to as a reptilian god in Hindu mythology. The city of Sigiriya may hold some of the answers surrounding his true identity. As you enter the site of Sigiriya, you first notice two giant carved feet sitting at the front gate. The locals refer to these as lion's claws, but lions have 4 large claws and 1 small. The claws in Sigiriya are 3, which makes many people believe that they actually depicted some sort of reptilian creature. Most ancient reptiles had 3 large toes, and this is precisely what we observe at the entrance of Sigiriya. Some locals refer to these feet as those of Ravana. Does that mean Ravana was some sort of reptilian humanoid? In some ancient texts, it is claimed that Ravana was not fully human, only his father was. On the other hand, his mother was a completely different species and may have been a reptilian. So, when Ravana was born, it said he was of a hybrid species. Some have even suggested a link between Ravana and the Nephilim giants mentioned in the ancient Christian and Hebrew texts. Ravana was known to have various human features, but others were unlike any average human. It's well known that Ravana was at least 10 feet tall, and some of the more interesting features included his ability to shapeshift and deceive others by doing so. This is a prevalent theme among those who were deemed reptilian. Another feature Ravana possessed was his ability to become almost invisible by blending with the surrounding environment. Clues of Ravana's reptilian appearance can be found in all ancient texts. One text, known as the Ramakien, clearly states that Ravana had green lizard-like skin. Even in modern times, various reptiles, including snakes, are named after the reptilian king Ravana. According to the ancient Tamil and Sinhala texts, the original inhabitants of Sri Lanka were a race of beings known as the Naga. Naga is the modern word for snake, but according to these ancient texts, Naga was the name of these reptilian hybrid beings who were eventually forced to live underground, and some believe they are still living there to this day. The more you research the ancient texts, the stranger the stories about Sri Lanka and Sigiriya become. What do you think about the site of Sigiriya? Was it somehow built by primitive humans with basic tools, or is there more to the story? Could human beings, without any advanced technology, have carried over 3 million bricks of marble blocks to the top of the rock, while also cutting out 3.5 tons of granite and removing it from the site without any stairs? Do you think conventional archaeologists were wrong to ascribe this site to builders in the 5th century? Should they instead embrace the idea that ancient builders with an unknown form of advanced technology are the original inhabitants of this site? And could it even have been built by Ravana or his extraterrestrial race known as the Asura? Is it possible that the site of Sigiriya was the home to an advanced group of reptilian gods who possessed technology far beyond their human counterparts? And did these Asura come down from the sky to intermingle with human beings and change the course of our history, just as all ancient texts convey? The enigmatic tale of Dwarka, often heralded as the lost city of Krishna from the Mahabharata, begins with a blend of myth and reality, where ancient texts and modern excavations intertwine to reveal a civilization that once thrived and then mysteriously disappeared beneath the sea.
Is the continuous flooding of this coastline. And the science tells us that we're here inland to what was once an enormous antediluvian domain extending more than 50 kilometers out to sea. The archaeological surveys here haven't even begun to test the myth.
100% man-made. What on earth is it? It may be the base for a colony.
Dwarka was a beautiful city. It was on the coast and it was the home base of the god we know as Krishna.
The journey into the heart of this legend takes us through a labyrinth of historical and mythological narratives, each shedding light on the grandeur and mystery of this ancient city. The story of Dwarka is deeply intertwined with the narratives of Hindu mythology, particularly with the life and times of Lord Krishna, one of Hinduism's most revered and enigmatic deities. The creation of Dwarka is a tale of celestial engineering and divine will. Believed to be located on the western tip of the Indian subcontinent, the city, constructed under the direction of Vishwakarma, the divine architect, was a marvel of palatial buildings made of gold. Streets were lined with precious stones and gardens adorned with celestial trees. The city was not only an epitome of material wealth and beauty, but also a fortress, impregnable to any external threats. Dwarka was more than just the physical manifestation of a city. It represented a utopian society where righteousness, truth, and dharma reigned supreme. Under Krishna's rule, it became a center of spiritual and cultural learning, attracting sages, scholars, and devotees from far and wide. The mythology of Dwarka reaches its climactic end following the departure of Krishna from the world. It is said that after Krishna left his earthly abode, the city he so lovingly created faced a series of catastrophic events. Massive floods engulfed the city, and within a matter of days, the glorious Dwarka submerged into the sea. It left behind only traces and memories in the sacred texts. But is there truth to all those tales and legends of this sophisticated ancient metropolis? Did it indeed exist, bridging the gap between mythology and history? Or is it merely a figment of collective imagination, a symbol of cultural aspiration? For centuries, the story of Dwarka was confined to the pages of sacred texts like the Mahabharata and the Puranas. However, the turning point came in the 20th century when marine archaeologists and historians began to investigate the possibility that this mythological city could have a basis in reality. Dr. Shikaripura Ranganatha Rao, an eminent Indian archaeologist, was so fascinated by the story of Dwarka that he dedicated his life to unraveling the mysteries of this legendary city. His quest began in the city of Bet Dwarka, an island facing the Gulf of Kutch, which set the stage for a series of remarkable discoveries. Bet Dwarka, initially thought to be the site of the mythical Dwarka, revealed incredible layers of history buried deep beneath its surface. Dr. Rao's excavations uncovered evidence suggesting that the city's foundations were thousands of years old. The presence of 6 distinct layers of urban settlement indicated a continuous process of rebuilding and resettlement, signifying the city's ancient and enduring nature. This initial finding hinted at the possible existence of a much older, grander city, perhaps the Dwarka of Krishna from the Mahabharata. Yet, the legend of Dwarka spoke of a city lost beneath the ocean. This led Dr. Rao to turn his gaze to the waters surrounding Bet Dwarka. His underwater expeditions uncovered something remarkable. There were the remnants of a bygone civilization, a civilization that perhaps once thrived in splendor and grandeur beneath the waves. Stone structures and artifacts lay silent on the ocean floor, holding within them secrets of a forgotten city that once might have rivaled the greatest of its time. The plot thickened as Dr. Rao ventured into the Bay of Cambay, where beneath 120 feet of water lay ruins vast enough to shadow modern-day Manhattan. These submerged secrets hinted at a city so ancient that it could have witnessed the world in a time unrecorded by history. Speculations arose that this sunken metropolis might even be traced back to the Younger Dryas period, around 12,500 years ago. This would make Dwarka one of the oldest known submerged cities in the world. Dr. Rao's discovery of Dwarka challenged the long-held beliefs about the chronology of human advancement, hinting at a civilization that predated known history. His discoveries ignited a spark in the archaeological community, a spark that continues to fuel the quest for understanding our ancestors' profound and mysterious past. The significance of these findings was monumental. As divers descend into the depths, they are greeted by a surreal landscape of ancient structures. The most striking feature of these ruins is the massive, well-organized layout, suggesting an advanced understanding of urban planning and architectural design. The city revealed a network of roads and pathways, lined with what were once buildings, marketplaces, and temples. The construction techniques used in Dwarka spoke volumes about the ingenuity and skill of its builders. The structures were predominantly made of stone, specifically large blocks of sandstone and limestone. These stones were expertly cut and fitted together, a technique evident in the precise angles and interlocking joints of the blocks. The absence of mortar in these constructions suggests a mastery of dry stone masonry. This method relies on the precise cutting and weighing of stones to ensure stability and endurance. Among the ruins, one can find the remnants of what might have been grand palaces and public buildings. These edifices showcase intricate carvings and sculptures, some still discernible despite centuries underwater. The carvings depicted scenes from Hindu mythology, floral patterns, and geometric designs. Each serves as a silent narrative of the city's past glory. The underwater city also reveals evidence of sophisticated water management systems. There were remnants of what appeared to be reservoirs, wells, and channels, indicating a complex system for collecting and distributing water. This system would have been crucial for a city located near the coast, particularly for managing fresh water. It ensured its availability for the city's inhabitants. Moreover, the discovery of what seems to be a harbor or dock area points to Dwarka's significance as a maritime center. The presence of anchor stones and structures resembling jetties and docks suggests that the city was a bustling port, engaging in trade and commerce with other civilizations. These maritime structures highlight advanced engineering capabilities. They were built with the same precision and skill as the city's buildings. As archaeologists and historians continued to explore and study the underwater ruins of Dwarka, they uncovered more layers of this ancient city's story. The materials used, the construction techniques, and the architectural designs all point to a civilization that was extremely advanced for its time. Scholars and researchers have posited that such advanced construction techniques indicate a deep understanding of geometry, physics, and material science, far beyond what was previously attributed to ancient civilizations in this region. Many theories and hypotheses arose, attempting to unravel the mystery of Dwarka's submersion and the cataclysmic events that might have led to its downfall. Like we mentioned earlier, according to Hindu mythology, the city of Dwarka was built by divine intervention. It was later submerged following a series of catastrophic events closely associated with the departure of Lord Krishna. Geological theories attempt to provide a scientific explanation for Dwarka's submersion. One prominent hypothesis is that the city was a victim of rising sea levels, possibly linked to the melting of glaciers at the end of the last ice age. This period, known as the Younger Dryas, saw significant climatic shifts that could have led to the inundation of coastal areas. The submergence of Dwarka could thus be a consequence of these natural climatic changes, aligning with the timeline suggested by underwater archaeological findings. Another theory posits that tectonic activity, such as earthquakes or subsidence, played a key role in the city's downfall. The region where Dwarka is located is seismically active, and it is plausible that seismic events could have led to the city's sinking. Geological records and sediment analyses provide some evidence of this. These analyses from the area could correlate with the timeline of Dwarka's submersion. The hypothesis of a cataclysm, possibly a tsunami, has also been suggested as a cause for Dwarka's demise. Tsunamis, triggered by underwater earthquakes or other seismic events, have the potential to cause widespread destruction, especially in coastal cities like Dwarka. Such a disaster could have engulfed the city, leaving behind the submerged ruins that we find today. These scientific theories are further enriched by the exploration of the mythological and historical context surrounding Dwarka. The city, as described in ancient texts, was not just a physical entity, but a symbol of divine and cosmic order. Its submersion is often interpreted as a metaphor for the transient nature of human achievements and the inevitable cycle of creation and destruction that governs the universe. Dwarka, according to mythological accounts, was not just a center of cultural and economic significance, but also a pivotal player in the ancient warfare narratives of India. The descriptions of Dwarka as an immense fortress in these texts often blend the mystical with the martial, suggesting a city that was as spiritually significant as it was strategically formidable. One of the most compelling aspects of Dwarka's connection to ancient warfare is the possibility of advanced weaponry and military technology. The Mahabharata and other Vedic texts describe weapons and battle tactics that, while often attributed to divine or mystical sources, hint at a sophisticated understanding of military science. These descriptions include references to aerial vehicles called vimanas, powerful explosives, and advanced weapons of mass destruction. If taken as more than mere allegory, they suggest a society with a highly developed military-industrial complex. The theories about Dwarka's advanced military technologies also touch upon the broader question of ancient Indian science and technology. The Vedic texts, which include not only mythological narratives but also treatises on mathematics, astronomy, and physics, offer a glimpse into the scientific knowledge of the time. The possibility that some of this knowledge was applied in the realm of military technology presents a fascinating area of study. Furthermore, the description of battles in the Mahabharata, particularly the use of devastating weapons that could cause widespread destruction, has led some to draw parallels with modern weapons of mass destruction. These parallels, while speculative, raise the possibility that ancient civilizations like Dwarka may have had access to, or at least conceptualized, highly destructive military technologies. The more we uncovered about the submerged city of Dwarka, the more the threads of history, mythology, archaeology, and science intertwine to form a rich tapestry that not only depicts the grandeur of an ancient civilization, but also challenges our understanding of the past. The exploration of Dwarka has been an odyssey that transcends mere discovery, offering profound insights into human history, technological advancements, and cultural evolution. Dwarka, as revealed through the meticulous work of archaeologists like Dr. Rao and through the lens of ancient texts, emerges as more than just a city. It stands as a testament to the sophisticated urban planning, architectural prowess, and technological innovations of a civilization that thrived thousands of years ago. The underwater ruins, with their intricate designs and advanced construction techniques, reflect a society that was not only advanced in terms of infrastructure but also imbued with a rich cultural and spiritual essence. This convergence of myth and fact provides a unique perspective on the ancient world, where legends and folklore often contain kernels of truth rooted in historical events and societal achievements. Dwarka, therefore, is not merely an archaeological site. It is a key to unlocking the mysteries of our ancient heritage. In the shadowed depths of Maharashtra's ancient landscape lies a mystery carved in stone, the Kailasa Temple. A monumental enigma, this architectural titan at the Ellora Caves was not built, but actually carved from a single solitary rock. This distinction renders it the world's largest monolithic sculpture hewn from a single piece of rock. Echoing with the mysteries of an advanced ancient civilization, the architectural colossus of the Kailasa Temple showcases a level of advancement and sophistication that challenges the conventional boundaries of time and technology. The temple possesses unique acoustic properties, suggesting an understanding of sound engineering that predates modern knowledge. Furthermore, the temple's complex drainage system, still functional after centuries, showcases an advanced understanding of hydraulics. Join us on our expedition to explore the mysteries of the Kailasa Temple, piecing together the puzzle of this magnificent testament to human ingenuity and the forgotten advanced knowledge of our ancestors. The Kailasa Temple, A remarkable architectural feat forms a significant part of the Ellora cave temples in India. This complex, comprising over 30 cave temples, has an incredible feat of craftsmanship and ingenuity. Carved directly into the side of a basalt mountain, these temples represent a range of religious traditions, including Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. The Kailasa Temple, dedicated to the Hindu god Shiva, stands out for its sheer size and intricate design. While most temples and caves, even within the same Ellora complex, were crafted by cutting into the rock face, the Kailasa Temple was sculpted not from the side, but from the top, a method that defies traditional architectural norms. This reverse engineering required not just extensive planning, but a mastery over the stone that seems beyond the scope of ancient technology as we know it. The process involved removing millions of cubic feet of rock, starting from the top of the mountain and working downwards, which is a colossal endeavor. The precision with which they had to work to avoid errors is remarkable, as any mistake made in carving could not be undone and would have potentially ruined the entire structure. Moreover, the temple's architectural superiority and design intricacies suggest a level of sophistication that seems ahead of its era. The temple is not just a random assortment of carved rocks. It is a well-thought-out architectural masterpiece with bridges, balconies, staircases, underground tunnels, drainage systems, rainwater irrigation networks, and hidden passages, all carved from the same rock. The planning required for such an endeavor implies a deep understanding of engineering and architecture. The temple's orientation and its features, like the water systems, had to be planned in advance, as any mistake would have been irreversible. The scale of construction is another aspect of amazement. One of the most striking features of the temple is a massive pillar that towers over 100 feet. To carve such a monolith, the builders had to remove the surrounding rock with precision, leaving the pillar standing, a task that seems Herculean in its scope. The amount of rock removed from the site is estimated to be around 400,000 tons, a volume that would be daunting even with modern machinery. The sheer scale of this excavation raises questions about the tools and methods employed. Could the ancient builders have had access to some form of advanced technology lost to the sands of time? The historical records, or the lack thereof, add to the temple's enigmatic nature. The temple was built during the 8th century, although some believe it was much older. These were times when modern machinery and technology were non-existent. According to the legend, the temple was built in a week. This legend is rooted in the story of the Rashtrakuta king Krishna I, who reigned during the 8th century. According to the tale, the king's devotion to the Hindu god Shiva inspired the creation of the temple. The story goes that the king's wife was gravely ill, and he prayed to Shiva for her recovery. In his prayers, he vowed to build a magnificent temple in Shiva's honor if his wife were to recover. Miraculously, she regained her health, and the king, true to his word, initiated the construction of the temple. The legend then takes a mystical turn, suggesting that the king invoked divine intervention, which enabled the rapid construction of the temple, completing this monumental task within a week. The estimated time frame for the construction of the Kailasa temple is a subject of extensive debate and wonder. Historical records suggest that the temple was completed in less than 18 years, a time frame that would be almost impossible for us today with all of our modern technologies and machines. The magnitude of the excavation undertaken at the temple is truly astounding. To achieve the removal of over 400,000 tons of rock, laborers would have needed to extract around 5 tons of rock every hour, based on a 12-hour workday. This feat seems almost inconceivable, especially when considering that even with today's advanced technologies, accomplishing such a monumental task remains a challenge. If the workers operated around the clock, this would still amount to an impressive 2.5 tons of rock per hour. How is all of this possible? Did the builders of the site had some sort of advanced technology? An additional enigma surrounding the Kailasa temple is the whereabouts of the excavated rock. Astonishingly, none of the approximately 400,000 tons of stone removed during the temple's construction has been located in or near the site. This leads to intriguing questions about how and where this massive quantity of rock was transported, especially considering the temple's remote location and the fact that the removed stone remains undiscovered to this day. The Kailasa temple's visibility from the air is another intriguing aspect. It stands out distinctly when viewed from above, a feature that is unique among the temples at Ellora. Moreover, the temple's Mahamantapa roof, adorned with 4 lion sculptures, each with a raised paw, forms a compelling and mysterious arrangement. This unique configuration, when observed from an aerial perspective, seems to converge into an X shape, sparking theories about their purpose as potential aerial markers. It raises the question of whether the temple's architects intended these sculptures as guides or signals for observers from the sky. This speculation is further fueled by the references to Vimanas, the legendary flying vehicles described in ancient Hindu scriptures. Were these lions meant to be seen by occupants of such mythical crafts? Returning to the temple's structural ingenuity, the Kailasa temple's drainage system stands as yet another marvel of ancient engineering. It was designed to tackle the heavy rainfall of the region, ensuring that the temple would not suffer water damage. This system comprises a network of channels, gutters, and drains intricately carved into the temple structure. The design of the drainage system was not an afterthought but an integral part of the temple's construction plan. The architects of the Kailasa temple had to envision this system even before they started carving the temple out of the rock. This foresight is remarkable, considering that any miscalculation could not be rectified once the rock was carved and would lead to flooding and erosion. The channels were strategically placed to collect rainwater from the temple roofs, courtyards, and upper levels, directing it away from the main structure. The implementation of such a system in a monolithic structure is a testament to the advanced engineering skills of the builders. They had to ensure that the water channels were deep and wide enough to handle the monsoon rains, yet seamlessly integrated into the aesthetic of the temple. The gutters and drains were carved with a slight gradient, facilitating the smooth flow of water away from the temple and preventing stagnation and erosion. Evidently, the hydraulic engineering involved in the Kailasa temple's drainage system is well ahead of its time. The builders had an advanced understanding of the principles of water flow and pressure, which is evident in the way the drainage system was designed to handle large volumes of water. The system's ability to function effectively for over a millennium with minimal maintenance speaks volumes about the level of expertise of its creators. Had it not been for the sophisticated drainage system, the Kailasa temple might not have withstood the test of time and remained preserved to this day. How is it possible that an ancient civilization was able to implement such a complex system without the aid of modern technology? Equally impressive, and adding another layer to its wonder, are the temple's unique acoustic properties. The temple's extraordinary sound dynamics are most evident in its halls and chambers, where sound behaves in ways that are both intriguing and mystifying. Chants and musical notes resonate within these spaces, amplifying and echoing in a manner that seems intentionally designed. The temple's architecture, with its rock-cut pillars, vaulted chambers, and interconnected halls, appears to be crafted to enhance sound in a specific way, elevating certain frequencies and sound waves. This feature is particularly remarkable considering the temple's rock-cut nature, which typically absorbs sound rather than amplifying it. Furthermore, the echoes produced within the temple's chambers are not chaotic but seem to be controlled, adding a rhythmic quality to the sounds. The temple's architects seem to have had a profound understanding of acoustics, which influenced the design and construction of the temple. The placement of pillars, the curvature of ceilings, and the dimensions of chambers appear to be meticulously planned to achieve specific acoustic effects. When reached to modern acoustic engineering, the Kailasa Temple's sound dynamics are both impressive and puzzling. Modern concert halls and theaters are designed with the aid of advanced technology to achieve desired acoustic effects. The Kailasa Temple, however, was constructed more than a millennium ago, without the technology or materials typically used in modern acoustics. This disparity raises questions about the level of acoustic knowledge possessed by the temple's architects. The source of the acoustic knowledge used in the construction of the Kailasa Temple remains a mystery. There are no historical records that explain the principles or techniques employed. This lack of documentation has led to speculation about how such advanced acoustic understanding was achieved. But what was the purpose of the acoustic features of the site? One theory that emerges from the acoustic properties of the Kailasa Temple is the potential use of sound for healing purposes, a concept deeply rooted in ancient traditions and practices. This theory suggests that the temple's unique acoustic features were deliberately designed to harness the healing power of sound, making it not just a place of worship, but also a center for holistic healing and well-being. The concept of acoustic or sound healing is based on the idea that sound vibrations can influence our physical and mental health. In many ancient cultures, including the Vedic tradition of India, sound has been considered a powerful tool for healing and transformation. The specific frequencies and resonances within the Kailasa Temple could have been calibrated to create an environment conducive to healing. The echoes and vibrations within its chambers might have been designed to resonate with certain frequencies that promote spiritual awakening and transcending to elevated states of consciousness. But the mysteries of the Kailasa Temple don't end there. The site is dotted with a variety of strange handles, each shrouded in questions due to their unknown purpose. Adding to the enigma, the area features numerous holes and cavities, all remarkably smooth and equally perplexing in their intended use. The craftsmanship is evident in the various marks on the site, particularly the drainage canals we showed you earlier. They look like they were scooped out of the rock, almost like the ancients had some sort of lost technology that enabled them to melt the stone and easily shape and sculpt it. Among the most profound mysteries of the temple, and indeed the Ellora caves as a whole, are the extensive underground passages. Many believe there are numerous hidden tunnels leading to unexplored caves and chambers beneath the mountain. It is widely believed that these passages are part of a larger network, connecting the entire site through a labyrinth of subterranean tunnels. The secrets that these depths conceal continue to intrigue and baffle researchers. Every facet of the Kailasa Temple points towards an advanced engineering acumen and a profound knowledge that has been lost to the annals of history. This historical resilience of the Kailasa Temple has been demonstrated during the 17th century, when the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb ordered the destruction of many Hindu temples during his reign as part of his policy of religious intolerance. His campaign of destruction included an attempt to demolish the Kailasa Temple. The task of destroying the Kailasa Temple, however, proved to be a formidable challenge. The story goes that 1,000 men were employed to bring down the temple, and they worked for 3 years. Despite their efforts, they could only cause minimal damage, such as defacing some sculptures and carvings. The main structure of the temple remained largely intact. This narrative echoes the historical episode involving Al-Aziz Uthman, the son of Saladin, who similarly endeavored to demolish an architecturally advanced ancient monument. According to historical accounts, around 1196 AD, Al-Aziz Uthman ordered an attempt to demolish the Menkaure Pyramid, which is the smallest of the three pyramids at Giza. The reasons behind this decision are not entirely clear, but it's speculated that it could have been for practical purposes, such as reusing the stones for construction elsewhere, or as a symbolic act to diminish the legacy of the ancient Egyptians. However, this attempt was largely unsuccessful. The workers assigned to this task found that dismantling the pyramid was an enormously difficult and labor-intensive task. After several weeks of effort, they had managed to remove only a small portion of the outer casing stones. The difficulty and cost of the endeavor led to its abandonment, and the pyramid remained largely intact. This incident is a testament to the durability and resilience of ancient structures built by advanced means. It illustrates the significant difference in appreciation and architectural expertise between the civilization that erected the monuments and the ones that endeavored to demolish them. Going back to the Kailasa Temple, we have to acknowledge it not just as a monumental architectural achievement, but also a profound testament to the ingenuity and advanced knowledge of our ancestors. Its construction, a feat that defies the constraints of its era, coupled with its sophisticated drainage and acoustic systems, suggests a level of technological and architectural understanding far beyond what was previously believed possible in ancient times. The temple's resilience against destruction attempts and its mysterious yet unexplained features, like the potential aerial markers and the unknown whereabouts of the excavated rock, only add to its enigma. The Kailasa Temple, therefore, remains an enduring symbol of human capability and a source of inspiration and wonder for generations to come, inviting us to explore and appreciate the depths of our shared human heritage. The Sri Lankan city of Anuradhapura is one of the most important historical cities anywhere on Earth, the capital of an ancient empire which ruled the region for more than 1,000 years, and the heart of Sri Lankan culture, appropriately known as the Land of Kings. Within this city stands the ruins of the astonishing Ranmasu Uyana. At one time, a 40-acre royal garden filled with lush green pathways, pools, and engraved illustrations, and home to some of the oldest and most significant Buddhist monuments in the country. And yet, the most significant thing in the park might not be a monument, but rather an out-of-the-way carving almost hidden amongst the ruins, which in recent times has become one of the most mysterious ancient artifacts not only in Sri Lanka, but anywhere on Earth. Known as Sakwala Chakraya, or Universe Cycle, the shadowy origins and unknown purpose of this carving have puzzled experts for more than a century. Now, new evidence is emerging which suggests that the mystery might go further than anyone imagined. What is Sakwala Chakraya? Who built it, and why? At first glance, Sakwala Chakraya is perhaps no more astonishing than other ancient carvings found all over the world. Stretching 6 feet in diameter, the carving is made up of 7 concentric circles surrounded by sections divided by vertical and horizontal lines, within which are a series of crossed circles and other unusual symbols. Around the boundary of the carving is an outer ring filled with depictions of a variety of marine animals. Certainly, it is an intricate and impressive work, yet what truly makes Sakwala Chakraya unique and mysterious is that to this very day, archaeologists and historians have absolutely no idea what it is or where it came from. The problem begins with the fact that Sakwala Chakraya looks nothing like any other ancient carving found in Anuradhapura or across Sri Lanka. Moreover, while it sits in the midst of Buddhist temples and monuments, Its iconography does not match any Buddhist iconography from Sri Lanka or anywhere in the world. In other words, Sakwala Chakraya appears totally out of place, as if the Mona Lisa was hanging on the wall of Machu Picchu. Even more bizarre is that any mention of Sakwala Chakraya is completely missing from the meticulous records kept by both the Anuradhapura Empire and the numerous Buddhist monasteries in the area. From these records, which cover more than 1,000 years, a detailed picture of the civilization which inhabited the area is given, of how they built their temples, gardens, and monuments, their systems of agriculture and religious belief, their wars and peace, their day-to-day life. Yet, amidst all this detailed information, there is not so much as one mention of the creation, purpose, or even existence of Sakwala Chakraya. Did it just appear out of nowhere, or was it created prior to the area's earliest records? And if it was, then by who? Moreover, if it was created before the Anuradhapura Empire, which began in 377 BCE, then how far back could it go? Some scientists have actually suggested that it could be 6,500 years old or even older, which would make it among the oldest carvings in the world. But regardless of who made Sakwala Chakraya and when, there is a far more important mystery to consider: its purpose. Simply, why was Sakwala Chakraya made, and what was it used for? Over the years, numerous explanations have emerged, each more incredible than the last. Mainstream Western science first took notice of Sakwala Chakraya thanks to the British archaeologist H.C.P. Bell, who served as the head of Archaeological Survey in Ceylon, as Sri Lanka was then known, during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Bell provided a detailed description of Sakwala Chakraya in a report presented to the governor of Ceylon. There he expressed his belief that the carving was a map representing Buddhist notions of the universe. As he wrote, "The concentric circles with their interspaces at the center can assuredly mean on the Sakvala, in the center of which rises miles in height, half below, half above the ocean's surface. Sun and moon lie on either side of the Sakvala. Round about in space are scattered innumerable other worlds represented by quadrisected circles. Below and around in the world of waters in which swarm gigantic uncouth denizens, fish, turtle, crab, chank, and other marine fauna." Of course, what Bell didn't know at the time was that Sakwala Chakraya was totally unlike any other Buddhist carving, including those which show conceptions of the universe, anywhere in Sri Lanka or around the world. That is to say, while Buddhists certainly had detailed conceptions of the universe, they did not portray it in a way that looked anything like Sakwala Chakraya. That the carving was totally unique to other Buddhist works, and for that matter, not mentioned in detailed Buddhist records from the area, meant that it almost certainly could not be the conception Bell described, and thus researchers began hunting for a different explanation. As they did, a theory emerged that Sakwala Chakraya was not a map, but a sort of blueprint for something with a technical purpose, like a building project or an irrigation system. Note that in front of the carving are 4 seats carved into the rock, turned slightly to face each other. Some researchers believe that this showed Sakwala Chakraya was a place for discussion, like, as one archaeologist put it, an ancient architect's office. As this explanation gained popularity, an obvious question emerged. If Sakwala Chakraya was a blueprint, then a blueprint for what? According to some, the answer has shocking implications. Look more closely at the Sakwala Chakraya carving. While its various symbols may seem random and mishmashed at first, some have pointed out that they actually look incredibly similar to those used in modern electrical diagrams. Notice first the concentric circles, which appear to resemble electromagnetic waves oscillating outwards, and the strange umbrella-like symbols, which look the same as parabolic satellite antennas. Look at this strange wave symbol, which is almost identical to the modern symbol for an inductor coil, and these two pairs of symbols, which appear on either side of the carving and seem to depict the modern symbols for open and closed circuits. Look even to the numerous crossed circles, and note that they resemble a top view of modern screws. With the way they are positioned, inside various rectangular boxes, do they not look like the compartments held in place on the back of a modern electronic device? Taken together, some have suggested that Sakwala Chakraya is indeed a blueprint for some sort of electronic device, or even an electrical production system. Could this really be possible? Recall that Sakwala Chakraya was carved at least 1,000 years ago, and probably more, like many thousands. At the very least, the idea that the ancients decided on a variety of symbols which just happened to resemble modern electrical symbols is an incredible coincidence. Of course, if you've watched our channel before, then you know that the idea of ancient electricity may not be as far-fetched as it might initially seem. Still, that Sakwala Chakraya could be an ancient electrical diagram is a stunning conclusion. And yet, it is not the most dramatic explanation for Sakwala Chakraya out there. While scientific research may not yet provide a conclusive explanation for Sakwala Chakraya, local legends actually do. The only problem, as far as mainstream science is concerned, is that the explanation is, well, out of this world. Within the great Sri Lankan epics, Sakwala Chakraya is not just any old carving, but rather it is described as a stargate. That is, a portal to other places in the universe. According to myth, this stargate was used by the gods to travel to and from the earth sometime in the distant past. To this day, many believe that Sakwala Chakraya provides a secret code for accessing the stargate, a specific order to touch the symbols to open the portal. Others say that if you sit in the 4 seats facing the carving and meditate for long enough, you can access the stargate. In fact, Tantric Buddhist monks still visit the site at night to meditate and try to open it. For some, the idea seemed ridiculous, even as NASA began to openly investigate the existence of stargates in recent years. Yet, it became nearly impossible to deny that something unusual was going on with Sakwala Chakraya when, in 2019, famed researcher Praveen Mohan visited the site. He had heard from locals that the carving emitted a strange energy, and so, using an EMF detector, he proved it. Sakwala Chakraya does indeed intermittently emit an unexplainable energy. Could this be related to its function as a stargate? And if Sakwala Chakraya really is a stargate, then who built it, and how was it used? For answers, we must look deeper into the park in which Sakwala Chakraya sits, and the Anuradhapura region which surrounds it. A study conducted by researcher and historian Mihindukula Surya Suzantha Fernando revealed that the city of Anuradhapura's 3 main stupas were astronomically aligned with astonishing precision to 3 stars in the Orion constellation, so that if a line was drawn between each stupa, the resulting triangle would perfectly align with the triangle of 3 stars on the right-hand wing of Orion. On its own, this was an incredible find, one which revealed an amazing astronomical knowledge possessed by Anuradhapura's ancient builders. Yet, following this finding, researchers took the idea further, and when they did, they discovered that the astronomical knowledge of the ancient Sri Lankans went far beyond 3 stupas. Looking specifically at the Ranmasu Uyana Park, which contains the Sakwala Chakraya carving, A team of archaeologists and astronomers mapped the orientation and measurement of the park's various stone structures. When they used astronomical software to input and examine what they'd found, they stunningly discovered that the entire 40-acre park was a comprehensive astronomical calendar. Its stone structures were constructed to measure the position of the sun and stars, count the length of the solar year, and observe the heliacal rising of the Sirius star, and even predict the dates of important astronomical events. The level of detail was shocking. How, researchers wondered, were Ranmasu Uyana's ancient builders able to acquire and replicate such advanced knowledge with such precision? While the question remains unanswered, it can be noted that this is not the only place in which Anuradhapura's ancient builders displayed unfathomably advanced knowledge. Zoom out from the park to the area which surrounds it more broadly, and note that the Anuradhapura region is home to one of the most astonishing engineering marvels of the ancient world. Across the northern dry zones of the country, the ancient Sri Lankans constructed a massive network of reservoirs, interconnected canals, and complex irrigation arrangements with modern-style valve pits regulating the flow of water. This advanced hydraulic system allowed the ancients to store and utilize water for agriculture, drinking, transportation, and even their lush royal gardens. Indeed, Ranmasu Uyana itself is home to one of the oldest reservoirs in the world, and a sophisticated hydraulic mechanism which pumped water from a nearby river to fill the garden's bathing ponds and swimming pools. In fact, the hydraulic system constructed by the ancients was so advanced that it is being looked to in modern times to save the country. Sri Lanka is currently being ravaged by climate change, so much so that it has become one of the first 15 countries on Earth to receive funding from the United Nations Green Climate Fund. With this funding, scientists are looking at Anuradhapura's ancient hydraulic system for advice on how to secure agriculture in the face of more extreme weather conditions. Simply, the hydraulic system of the Anuradhapura ancients is still relevant, thousands of years after it was built. Of course, whether hydraulic, astronomical, or otherwise, this is exactly what the Anuradhapura Empire was known for: advanced knowledge. During their period of prominence from 377 BCE, the empire became a center of world knowledge and learning, a place where people from all over the world, from Kashmir to China, would come to read texts and receive advice from great sages on matters of science, engineering, agriculture, religion, and philosophy. The question is, how did the Anuradhapura Empire develop this knowledge, which so far outstripped its neighbors for so many centuries? Interestingly, while the Anuradhapura Empire officially started in 377 BCE, archaeological evidence shows that a thriving settlement existed in the Anuradhapura region centuries before this at least, a populous civilization familiar with farming, animal husbandry, pottery, writing, and metallurgy. Was it this civilization which laid the groundwork for, perhaps even founded, the Anuradhapura Empire? And if so, who were they and where did they go? Off the southeastern coast of India, a 30-mile-long shoal exists just under the ocean, a bridge of sand and other debris stretching all the way to the northwestern coast of Sri Lanka, separating the Gulf of Mannar on one side from the Palk Strait on the other. Located less than 4 feet under the water in most places, this shoal has seriously hindered regional trade for centuries, allowing only small boats and dinghies to navigate the area, while forcing large ocean-going vessels to travel all the way around Sri Lanka, adding an extra 250 miles to any journey. In 2005, the government of India announced approval for the monumental Sethusamudram Canal project, which would dredge the ocean floor in order to create a channel through the area for large ships, significantly boosting the efficiency of regional trade. There was only one problem. The debris under the water wasn't just any shoal, but a place of preeminent spiritual importance to millions, even billions of people. For Hindus, it is an ancient causeway constructed by the legendary figure Rama to facilitate his army crossing from India to Sri Lanka to rescue his abducted wife Sita from the evil king Ravana. Hindus do not view it as a natural shoal formation, but as an ancient man-made bridge known as Rama Setu, meaning the Bridge of Rama. Interestingly, historical record shows that what today is a shoal was, in fact, above water, a transferable bridge that could be crossed on foot until 1480, when it was breached by a storm and slowly overcome. Moreover, Islamic tradition tells of Adam, the first man who was also a 100 feet tall giant, who fell on earth in Sri Lanka after his expulsion from heaven. In order to escape from the island and find Eve, he constructed a massive bridge to cross into mainland Asia. Like Hindus, Muslims also believe this is not just another ocean formation but an ancient structure they call Adam's Bridge. In fact, one of the highest peaks in Sri Lanka is also named after Adam, the Adam's Peak, which according to the story is the place where Adam first landed on Earth. On an altar on the top of the peak, we can find a giant footprint which is believed to be the footprint of Adam, drawing pilgrims from all over the world to visit the holy place. Because of this deep religious significance, the Sethusamudram Canal project immediately became the subject of great controversy when it was announced, causing an uproar amongst many politicians, religious groups, and ordinary people. And yet, if you venture to look more closely at the bridge and its mysterious creation, it becomes clear that the controversy goes deeper than religion, that it may in fact challenge humanity's established history and begin to reveal mythical secrets which have long been lost. The Ramayana is one of the two most important epics, along with the Mahabharata, in all of Hinduism. Composed over the course of nearly a millennium, it is made up of about 24,000 verses, making it one of the largest ancient epics in world literature. Within these verses is the narration of the life of Rama, the legendary prince of the ancient kingdom of Kosala, which is said to have existed millions of years in the past in the Treta Yuga, a mythological period of time that began 2,165,000 years ago. The portion of this story which is most important here can be picked up when Rama enters into exile in the forest with his wife Sita. During this time, Sita is abducted by Ravana, a demon king of Lanka, a rival kingdom. Seeking to recover his wife, Rama raises a mighty army of creatures called Vanara, human-like monkeys who live in the forest, and sets off in pursuit. After some time, Rama and his army reach the coast of India, from which they can see across the ocean to the distant shores of Sri Lanka, where Sita has been taken. Yet, with the turbulent ocean blocking the path of Rama's army and no way to get across, it seems their pursuit will end in failure. However, then Rama begins the construction of a massive bridge with the help of his army of monkey people and a Vanara architect named Nala. With the ingenuity of Nala, the bridge is built from India to Sri Lanka in only 5 days, allowing Rama's mighty army to cross the ocean. As the Ramayana describes, that colossal bridge, which was broad, well-constructed, glorious, well-postured, and held together firmly, looked beautiful like a separating straight line in the ocean. The highly terrific sound of the ocean was covered up by the great sounds of the terrific monkeys who were crossing the sea. Once in Sri Lanka, Rama defeats Ravana in battle, killing him and rescuing his wife, before returning home as the incredible story concludes. What is most important about this story is that for many Hindus, it is not merely a myth, but a record of history, not allegory or religious teaching, but fact. This forms the core of the debate over Rama Setu. Is it a construction built by the patriarchs of Hinduism millions of years in the past and recorded in the Ramayana? Or is it simply a natural formation explained by those who didn't know through a myth taken as truth? When the government of India began putting together what would become the Sethusamudram Canal project in the early 2000s, they knew it would be controversial. For this reason, 1 year before the project was announced, they enlisted the services of Dr. Badrinarayanan, the director of the Geological Survey of India, to carry out a study of Rama Setu, presumably in an effort to collect evidence that the shoal was a natural formation which could then be used against opponents and critics. However, when Badrinarayanan and his team began to drill boreholes along the bridge, what they found shocked them. 6 meters below the sandy surface of the bridge, they found a layer of coral and boulders sitting on top of another layer of sand some 16 feet deeper, which in turn sat on hard rock formations below that. The reason this was so shocking was described by Badrinarayanan. Corals are found only on rocks and such hard surfaces. Here, below the corals and boulders, we are getting loose sand, which means it is not natural. In other words, the coral could not have grown there on its own. It must have been deposited there by somebody. With this discovery, Badrinarayanan knew he needed to explore the bridge further, so he sent divers down to examine the boulders, which mixed with the coral below the surface. When he did, things got even more astonishing. In Badrinarayanan's words, on top of the loose sand, which was formed when the sea level was low, our divers found boulders. Boulders normally occur on land and they are a typical riverine character. They are not a local marine formation. We feel somebody dumped the boulders to use them as a causeway. The boulders on top of the loose sand are transported to that place. As they are found above loose sand, it is quite obvious that they were brought and dumped there by somebody. All these things lead us to believe that 2 to 2.5 meters of packed rubble or material appear to be a modern-day causeway. Nobody dumps materials like that. Obviously, it was dumped to use it to cross the sea. Far from proving that Rama Setu was a natural formation, Badrinarayanan had actually come to the opposite conclusion. The evidence, in his words, clearly establishes the fact that Rama Setu is very much man-made. Another interesting thing we have to mention is that, according to the legend, the bridge was built with stones that do not sink in the water because of the blessings of Lord Varuna and the name of Lord Rama written on them. Curiously, every year, people near the area constantly discover stones that, like in the legend, do not sink. Countless YouTube videos are posted of these discoveries, and when the stones are placed in water, they always appear to float instead of sinking. While proving that Rama Setu is man-made does not prove it was built by Rama, as the Ramayana describes, it does raise some interesting questions. If it was, in fact, man-made, as Badrinarayanan was asserting, then who could have built such an astonishing structure, a bridge across the ocean, that far in the past? To begin to answer this question, we might return to the Ramayana, which in fact contains a detailed description of Rama Setu's construction. Then, being sent by Rama, hundreds and thousands of monkey heroes jumped in joy on all sides towards the great forest. Those army chiefs of monkeys, who resembled mountains, broke the rocks and trees there and dragged them away towards the sea. The huge-bodied monkeys with mighty strength uprooted elephant-sized rocks and mountains and transported them by mechanical contrivances. Some others drew up strings 100 yojanas long in order to keep the rocks in a straight line. Some monkeys were holding poles for measuring the bridge, and some others collected the material. Reeds and logs resembling clouds and mountains brought by hundreds of monkeys, led by the command of Rama, fastened some parts of the bridge. That Nala, the strong and illustrious son of Vishwakarma, and an excellent monkey, built the bridge across the sea as truly as his father would have built it. That beautiful and lovely bridge constructed by Nala across the ocean, the abode of alligators, shone brightly like a Milky Way of stars in the sky. It is an astonishing description of an incredible project. But within the description, one line in particular stands out, where the monkeys uprooted elephant-sized rocks and mountains and transported them by mechanical contrivances. What type of mechanical contrivances would have allowed Ramasetu's builders to transport and place elephant-sized rocks and mountains for many miles across the open ocean? What type of technology did they have that allowed them to complete the building of a bridge which even today would be exceedingly difficult? One thing is for sure, whatever the mechanical contrivances used to move and stack huge boulders, this is not the only time seemingly impossible advanced technology appears in the Ramayana. When, within the Ramayana, the demon king Ravana abducts Rama's wife Sita, he does not simply grab her and walk away. Rather, he abducts her using a flying machine he has stolen from the gods known as the Pushpaka Vimana. When Rama eventually defeats Ravana, it is this same flying machine in which he flies home with his wife. But what is this Pushpaka Vimana? In the text, it is described as a chariot resembling a bright cloud in the sky that rose up into the higher atmosphere. If they were able to build a bridge across the ocean, is it possible that the people of Rama's time also had access to flying machines that could reach the higher atmosphere? Those familiar with Hindu texts will know that the Ramayana is far from the only place these flying machines appear. They are broadly known as Vimana, meaning measuring out or traversing, and they appear many times across Hindu epics. Perhaps the most well-known description appears in the Samarangana Sutradhara, where it is written, "Strong and durable must the body of the Vimana be made, like a great flying bird of light material. Inside, one must put the mercury engine with its iron heating apparatus underneath. By means of the power latent in the mercury, which sets the driving whirlwind in motion, a man sitting inside may travel a great distance in the sky. The movements of the Vimana are such that it can vertically ascend, vertically descend, and move slanting forwards and backwards. With the help of the machines, human beings can fly in the air, and heavenly beings can come down to earth." Again, remember that many Hindus view the information contained within the epics as historical facts. Could Vimanas, these astonishing flying machines, have actually existed? And if so, how could the ancients have built them? What type of technology could they have had that we apparently do not have today? In modern times, the beginning of an answer has started to appear. In 2003, a Sanskrit scholar from China named Ye Xiaoyong was searching through old, forgotten manuscripts at a Tibetan monastery when he came across something stunning. There, amidst mountainous piles of old documents, he found a stack of yellowed palm leaves covered in an ancient Sanskrit writing older than he had ever seen. Immediately recognizing the importance of his discovery, Ye removed the manuscripts and began working with a team on their translation. Over the course of more than a decade, the words contained within the manuscripts were slowly revealed. Amazingly, not only did they divulge new insights into the philosophy and history of India, but according to one of the translators, they even gave directions for building an operational Vimana. The secret of the incredible capabilities of the Vimana described in the Hindu epics was, according to this translator, an anti-gravitational technology utilizing a centrifugal force strong enough to counteract all gravitational pull. Could it really be possible that the ancients had discovered the secrets of anti-gravity? Those who have watched our channel before will know that it is not as impossible as it may seem. In fact, you can watch our comprehensive video on Viktor Grebennikov and the secrets of anti-gravity hidden in nature to find out just what the ancients may have known. In either case, this revelation on how Vimanas were built and how they worked was so groundbreaking that many scholars began to assert the Vimanas contained within the Hindu epics must be real. As one such scholar put it after conducting a comprehensive study of Hindu flying machines, the descriptions of Vimanas contained within the text were too detailed and technical in nature to be labeled as myth. If this is true, then it is possible that the secrets of this advanced ancient technology remain hidden right under our noses. After Ye's discovery in 2003, scholars quickly realized that many thousands of previously undiscovered Sanskrit manuscripts were lying forgotten in Tibetan temples. Already, some 500 bundles of palm leaves with many thousands of lines of ancient text have been recovered and await translation. As these words are translated, might they further reveal the secrets of an advanced technology possessed by the ancients? Throughout ancient Hindu texts, there are numerous accounts of magical superweapons wielded and utilized to terrible effect. Perhaps the most infamous description of such a weapon comes from the Mahabharata. Gurkha, flying in his swift and powerful Vimana, hurled against the three cities of Vrishnis and Andhakas a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe. An incandescent column of smoke and fire, as brilliant as 10,000 suns, rose in its entire splendor. It was the unknown weapon, the Iron Thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death which reduced to ashes the entire race of Vrishnis and Andhakas. There was neither a counterattack nor a defense that could stop it. It was as if the elements had been unleashed. The sun spun round. Scorched by the incandescent heat of the weapon, the world reeled in fever. Elephants were set on fire by the heat and ran to and fro in a frenzy to seek protection from the terrible violence. The water boiled, the animals died, the enemy was mown down, and the raging of the blaze made the trees collapse in rows as in a forest fire. The elephants made a fearful trumpeting and sank dead to the ground over a vast area. Horses and war chariots were burnt up, and the scene looked like the aftermath of a conflagration. Thousands of chariots were destroyed. Then deep silence descended on the sea. The winds began to blow, and the earth grew bright. It was a terrible sight to see. The corpses of the fallen were mutilated by the terrible heat so that they no longer looked like human beings. Remember, many Hindus believe that stories like these represent historical records. If the ancients could have possessed the secrets of anti-gravity, which allowed them to create flying machines, could they also have possessed super weapons, charged with all the power of the universe? Interestingly, evidence supporting this possibility has emerged in modern times. In fact, we have an entire video in which we present all the clues suggesting that ancient nuclear weapons, the so-called weapons of the gods, were used in some places on our planet. But if an ancient civilization did possess this type of technology, the question becomes, who was this advanced ancient civilization, and where did they go? Some have an answer. In the late 19th century, an English geologist named Philip Sclater published a paper that shook up the scientific world. Titled The Mammals of Madagascar, it provided an answer to a question that had long puzzled scientists. Why were lemur bones abundant in both India and Madagascar, but missing in the Middle East and Africa, territory through which they presumably would have had to travel to reach one from the other? The reason Sclater proposed was that at one time in the past, India and Madagascar had each been part of a large supercontinent before this continent sunk beneath the ocean when sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. Sclater named this lost continent Lemuria, after the lemurs who had started his work. Interestingly, Hindu texts, including the Ramayana, speak of an ancient continent submerged in the Indian Ocean known as Kumari Kandam, the home of an advanced ancient civilization swallowed by the sea many thousands of years in the past. When Sclater began talking about a lost continent called Lemuria, many believed he was actually referring to Kumari Kandam. If such a continent did exist in the ancient past, could it have been home to the civilization spoken about in the Ramayana and other Hindu epics? Could Rama and Ravana have actually been the rulers of advanced civilizations which sunk into the sea? Look at the proposed map of Lemuria. Was Rama Setu not only a bridge between India and Sri Lanka, but a bridge between continents? Following this line of thinking, we may turn our attention to a different character in the Ramayana, not Rama, but his army who built Rama Setu, the Vanara. While today, Vanara is translated to simply mean monkey, some scholars assert that to get to the true meaning of the word, it must be broken down. Vana, which means forest, and Nara, which means man. In other words, not monkey, but forest man. Perhaps the Vanara were not actually some mythical monkey creatures, but an early type of human. Consider, at about the same time as the idea of the lost continent of Lemuria was gaining popularity, a German scientist named Ernst Haeckel proposed the theory that the earliest humans may have descended from Asian primates, and even pointed to Lemuria as the place these primates may have come from. Is it possible that the Vanara recorded in the Ramayana were not monkeys, but an early ancestor of human beings living alongside the advanced races of Rama and Ravana before spreading across the world after Lemuria sunk and becoming the human race as we know it today? This would be an entirely different origin story for human beings than that presented in our history books today. If Rama Setu was really built 1.7 million years ago, then that would be the time when Homo erectus roamed the earth. The Homo erectus was the first species to form groups, work with tools, and even wear clothes, mainly animal skins. Could Rama's army of monkey people actually be the Homo erectus species? Moreover, if not humans, then to what race of beings did Rama and Ravana belong? Who were these figures, more advanced than humans at the early stages of development? And if they had flying machines and superweapons, then what else did they know? And could they really have just sunk into the ocean, lost forever? If we take a step back, we may establish that this is why Rama Setu has become such a controversial topic in modern times. The mystery of its creation is not just a religious matter, but one which opens questions about the entire history of humanity, about advanced ancient civilizations and where human beings came from, and whether history is linear or cyclical. The thing is, more answers might be coming soon. When the government of India announced the plans to dredge Rama Setu, they knew it would be controversial. But they perhaps did not understand quite how controversial the project would become. Immediately after it was announced, politicians and religious groups organized protests against the project, launching an international campaign called Save Rama Setu in the process. By 2007, the Supreme Court of India had issued an order putting a temporary stop to the project and urging the government to examine alternatives. Shortly thereafter, the government filed an affidavit with the court stating that there was no evidence Rama Setu had been constructed by people, despite their own scientist, Dr. Badrinarayanan, having found evidence to suggest it was only a few years prior, while at the same time conceding that they would follow the court's directions to temporarily pause the project while a solution was looked for. This temporary pause has turned into more than a decade-long fight over the future of Rama Setu, with some insisting that it should be named a national monument and given protected legal status, and others maintaining that not only is it a purely natural formation, but that the Supreme Court does not have the power to block the project. In 2017, the battle was ratcheted up to another level when the US-based Science Channel released a documentary on Rama Setu entitled Ancient Land Bridge. The documentary presented a study conducted by scientists from 4 major American universities, which used satellite imagery to examine the site, alongside previously recovered geological samples. The results of this study were clear. As one scientist involved in the project put it, the sandbar may be natural, but what is sitting on top of it is not. The rocks on top of the sand actually predate the sand, so there is more to this story. These results suggest the structure in the satellite image is not natural but built by humans. Upon release of the documentary, many insisted that it settled the argument. Rama Setu was man-made and should be named a protected national monument. At the same time, however, others asked why India was letting Americans tell them about their own country, accusing the study's scientists of typical Western dramatics. This was the final straw for the Indian government. They knew that the debate could not be allowed to go on any further, that one way or another, they must solve the mystery once and for all. Consequently, at the start of 2021, the government announced that they would launch the first ever official exploration and study of Rama Setu in March of that year. The project would take at least 3 years to complete, starting with a geological survey and examination of the subsurface structure, before moving into a more comprehensive laboratory analysis of geological samples taken from deep below the water and within the earth. As the New York Times reported, the purpose would be to determine once and for all whether the formations clearly visible on the ocean floor are naturally occurring sandbanks or structures made by humans. This project is currently ongoing, and many are waiting with bated breath to find out what conclusions may be reached. Is Rama Setu man-made? Perhaps more importantly, if it is, what else might scientists find? What other secrets may be revealed? Curiously, one of the stated purposes of the study is not just to determine if Rama Setu is an artificial structure, but to look for submerged habitations that may be around it. In fact, one scientist who is part of the study has already insisted he is 100% sure we will find archaeological remains. What did he mean by this? Are scientists expecting to find the remains of an ancient civilization lost beneath the waves? And might these remains belong to the lost continent of Kumari Kandam? The fact is, the mystery of Rama Setu is only just beginning. Who knows what secrets will be revealed in the near future and how they will impact our understanding of human history and the history of Earth. The Angkor Wat Temple complex in Cambodia might be the most astonishing ancient site on Earth. Covering an area of more than 400 acres, it is made up of something like 10 million stone blocks, intricately carved and stacked into temples, terraces, and galleries. For comparison, Angkor Wat covers 3 times the area of Vatican City and is made up of more than 4 times as many blocks as the Great Pyramid of Giza. No wonder Angkor Wat's famous Lotus Bud Towers adorn the Cambodian flag. Yet, for most of the second half of the 20th century, research at the site by those hoping to unravel its many mysteries was limited or prevented altogether by ongoing conflict and civil war in the country. In fact, it was not until the 21st century that large-scale research resumed at the site. But when it did, what began to emerge was a mystery far greater than anyone had imagined. In 1860, a French explorer by the name of Henri Mouhot was traveling through the uncharted interior regions of Cambodia, collecting samples and recording observations about a place which, to that point, was almost totally unknown in the West. One day, Mouhot noticed a rare butterfly fluttering in the air. He began to chase after it, not noticing in his excitement that his pursuit was taking him deeper and deeper into the jungle, away from his traveling party. In short order, Muho was lost. Panicking, he began to hack through vines and overgrown foliage with a machete, desperate to find his way back to his party. Suddenly, the jungle opened in front of him to reveal a clearing, and standing before Muho was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen in his life. An enormous stone structure stretching in all directions and reaching up to the sky. A massive complex overgrown with jungle, abandoned for who knows how long. Standing before him was the long-lost Angkor Wat. Today, this is the story that is told of a lone explorer accidentally stumbling across the great ruins of Angkor Wat, a sort of Indiana Jones-like figure uncovering a secret long lost deep in the jungle. Of course, this story is not, strictly speaking, true. While Muho did visit Angkor Wat in 1860, the site was not long lost. Though it had been abandoned for centuries, it was known about by locals and still occasionally used by fishermen, farmers, and monks. In fact, Muho was not even the first European to have laid eyes on the site. In 1589, nearly 3 centuries before Muho made his visit, a Portuguese friar named Antonio de Madalena was taken to Angkor Wat during his travels in Cambodia, famously writing, "Angkor Wat is of such extraordinary construction that it is not possible to describe it with a pen, particularly since it is like no other building in the world. It has towers and decoration and all the refinements which the human genius can conceive of." While this account did not gain widespread popularity in Europe at the time, Muho came across it centuries later at exactly the moment he was becoming inspired by emerging European accounts of exploration in Southeast Asia, a mysterious region known to Europeans as simply beyond India. So inspired was Muho that he decided to leave his comfortable life and hop on a ship to the other side of the world. On April 27, 1858, the 31-year-old Muho set sail from London to Bangkok, where he would begin an expedition into the remote interior regions of mainland Southeast Asia. For 3 years, he explored territories uncharted by Europeans, traveling with local guides by fishing boat, on horses, oxen carts, or even elephants, and many times walking through the jungle on foot, sleeping each night in a hammock strung between 2 trees. All the while, he meticulously recorded notes and observations on everything he came across, the places, people, animals, and plants. It was in 1860 that Muho was finally taken by his guides to Angkor Wat. No, it was not an accident that he arrived there. He was not chasing a butterfly, and the site was not long lost. Yet this did not make the site any less astonishing to Muho. In his notes, he wrote of the first moment he laid eyes on the complex. Angkor Wat presents itself to the eye of the traveler, making him forget all the fatigues of the journey, filling him with admiration and delight, such as would be experienced on finding a verdant oasis in the sandy desert. Suddenly, and as if by enchantment, he seems to be transported from barbarism to civilization, from profound darkness to light. Of the central temple, he wrote, "One of these temples, a rival to that of Solomon, and erected by some ancient Michelangelo, might take an honorable place beside our most beautiful buildings. It is grander than anything left to us by Greece or Rome." As he began to explore the site, he marveled at the craftsmanship, writing, "What strikes the observer with not less admiration than the grandeur, regularity, and beauty of these majestic buildings is the immense size and prodigious number of the blocks of stone of which they are constructed. What means of transport, what a multitude of workmen must this have required? The stones are everywhere fitted together in so perfect a manner that you can scarcely see where are the joinings. There is neither sign of mortar nor mark of the chisel, the surface being as polished as marble." But who, Muho wondered, had built this incredible complex? His curiosity poured out in his notes. Was this incomparable edifice the work of a single genius who conceived the idea and watched over the execution of it? One is tempted to think so, for no part of it is deficient, faulty, or inconsistent. To what epoch does it owe its origin? As before remarked, neither tradition nor written inscriptions furnish any certain information upon this point. Over the course of months, Muho constructed detailed notes on the site, which no European, not even Maddalena, had previously done, recording in both writings and drawings its layout and architectural features, from the terraces and causeways to the porticos and galleries to the incredible carvings which covered the whole site. Though he would die in 1861 of a fever while still on his travels, Muho's incredible and intricate recordings on Angkor Wat would inspire archaeologists from across Europe and all around the world to travel to Cambodia and explore the mysterious site for themselves. While he did not rediscover it, as the popular story goes, Muho's work at Angkor Wat would stimulate mainstream study of the site. And from the very start, what this research uncovered was astonishing. As archaeologists flooded to Angkor Wat in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they quickly realized that what they were dealing with was no less than the largest religious complex in the world. Far more than just its seminal Lotus Bud Towers, which rose 200 feet above the surrounding landscape, Angkor Wat was an entire complex covering an area of more than 400 acres, the size of 300 American football fields, and surrounded by a moat stretching nearly a mile by 3/4 of a mile. Within this complex were numerous smaller temples, alongside cross-shaped terraces and connected galleries, massive pillars and statues, all covered with unbelievable stone carvings depicting scenes from Hindu mythology, the conquests of an empire, and the natural world. Together, the complex had been constructed from something like 10 million individual stone blocks weighing up to 1.5 tons each, brought to the site from a quarry some 25 miles to the northeast. The more researchers looked, the more incredible details they found, including a surprising level of advanced architectural understanding which had allowed Angkor Wat to remain standing for centuries. The massive moat, for one, was not just a barrier protecting the complex, but an architectural feature specifically designed to reduce the pressure pushing outwards from the enormous accumulation of stone. Without this moat, Angkor Wat would have collapsed many years ago. Moreover, in the jungle region where Angkor Wat was built, the ground swells and shrinks yearly during flood and drought seasons. To combat this, Angkor Wat's builders diverted water to alter the underground water table and the composition of the earth beneath the complex to prevent it from sinking under its own weight, so it would effectively float on a changing foundation and stay standing for centuries. At the same time as researchers were uncovering the incredible features of what Angkor Wat was, they were working to construct its history. Using carbon dating, archaeological analysis, and a review of the area's rare surviving historical documents, they pointed to the Khmer Empire, which had arisen in the 9th century CE in Cambodia and grown over the course of centuries into the most powerful empire in the region. According to researchers, Angkor Wat was built by the Khmer king Suryavarman II between 1113 and 1150 CE as a Hindu temple dedicated to Vishnu. From that point forward, Angkor Wat served as the physical and spiritual capital for the Khmers, the heart of a mighty empire until, gradually, the empire declined for a variety of reasons and the site was abandoned, leaving Angkor Wat to be slowly swallowed by the jungle, until Henry Muho's visit brought the archaeologists of the world to its doorstep. As this official explanation was put together, there were many who expressed skepticism. How, some wondered, could the Khmers have built Angkor Wat in only 37 years, as researchers were suggesting, without the aid of modern technology, when at the same time Europe's great powers were taking centuries to build their famous cathedrals. One estimate concluded that if the Khmers had worked from sunrise to sunset every day for 37 years, they would have had to have quarried, transported, cut, and placed 1 ton of stone every minute, uninterrupted for 37 years, in order to complete the task. To many, this clearly seemed impossible. Elsewhere, others asked if Angkor Wat was built by a great empire which spanned for thousands of miles and maintained power for centuries after building it, then why was it so unique in the region in both design and size? If the Khmer Empire had built Angkor Wat, would they not have copied its design elsewhere in their massive empire? Yet across Cambodia and neighboring countries, no other structure looks anything like Angkor Wat. Further, nothing else across the region compares to Angkor Wat in size. Would future Khmer rulers after Suryavarman Sikhu not have built bigger, greater complexes to establish their own power? By the mid-20th century, mainstream science had declared the case closed. Angkor Wat was a magnificent temple complex built by the Khmer Empire over the course of 37 years, some 900 years in the past. But for others, the mystery was just beginning. It was not until the 21st century, more than 150 years after Henry Mouhot first stimulated widespread interest in Angkor Wat, that the true depths of this mystery would finally be revealed. Since the emergence of the official explanation about the Khmer Empire and Angkor Wat, researchers have tried to learn more about the empire and the civilization it supported. Yet for decades, they made almost no progress. The problem was that the area around Angkor Wat is remote and covered in dense jungle, making on-the-ground archaeological work almost impossible. Moreover, the area's historical records are virtually non-existent due to centuries of conflict which have destroyed archives, and a hot, humid tropical climate which has long since deteriorated the palm leaves on which records were written on. But that all changed in 2012, thanks to archaeologists Damian Evans and Roland Fletcher. That year, the two men led a project which would use a type of advanced airborne scanning known as light detection and ranging, or LIDAR scanning, to see through the jungle around Angkor Wat. For weeks, teams took daily helicopter flights over hundreds of miles around the complex, using LIDAR to fire millions of laser pulses at the jungle below. Sensors in the helicopter would then pick up the reflection of the lasers from the jungle floor, allowing researchers to map the unique features of the terrain. What they found shocked them and sent the archaeological world into a frenzy. Angkor Wat was not originally located in the middle of a jungle as it is today, but rather sat in the center of a huge, low-density urban area. There, hidden beneath the jungle, were the remains of a massive network of roads, residential areas and shrines, canals and dried-out ponds, alongside thousands of rice fields surrounded by low, narrow banks. In fact, the network stretched for more than 600 square miles, making the urban area, in the words of National Geographic, the size of modern-day Los Angeles, no less than the largest settlement ever built in human history before the Industrial Revolution. Within this area, researchers concluded, a population of nearly 1 million people would have lived. This was an astonishing find, a mind-blowing metropolis far beyond anything anyone had imagined had existed in the area. Damian Evans asserted that the research had provided a lifetime of data in only a few weeks, and yet, as LIDAR research continued, the details about this lost metropolis got even more staggering. In the 1950s and 60s, a French archaeologist named Bernard-Philippe Groslier used aerial archaeology to attempt to reconstruct the ancient water system of canals which surrounded Angkor Wat and fed its enormous moat. His work revealed a system of such complexity that Grosslier dubbed Angkor Wat the hydraulic city. But it was not until Evans and Fletcher came along in 2012 that the full mind-blowing scope of this water system became clear. Using LiDAR, they mapped the water system across the entire Angkor Wat urban area. Incredibly, researchers mapped extensive hydrological systems which managed, stored, and dispersed water from 3 separate rivers and a nearby lake across the entire urban area. It was a system of unfathomable magnitude and ability. Rivers and creeks had been dredged and straightened into canals and channels more than 10 miles in length and 130-200 feet wide, while a vast system of dikes spanning hundreds of miles diverted water where it was needed. Huge reservoirs called barrages, the largest of which was 5 miles long, were created to store water, and a vast network of walled fields was constructed for flooded rice agriculture. With this water system, a landscape of sloping rice terraces was created with an independent water supply, which would have insulated the urban area from droughts. But it was more than that. The water system had clearly been built to provide a transport system across the urban area, as well as a domestic water supply for sanitation. Additionally, the water system included numerous ponds and channels filled with fish, a further source of food for the population within the city. Truly, Angkor Wat was an advanced ancient hydraulic city, one which went far beyond anything Grosslier had originally imagined. A water system totally unique anywhere on Earth. And yet, even this was not the most mind-boggling thing researchers discovered about Angkor Wat. While researchers like Evans and Fletcher were looking closer at the region around Angkor Wat, revealing the secrets of a massive urban area, at the same time, others were looking for secrets within the Angkor Wat complex itself. As this took place, findings began to emerge which showed that Angkor Wat had been constructed with shockingly detailed astronomical and cosmological considerations. To begin, the entire temple complex had been constructed to represent the universe in Hindu cosmology. At the center of this universe is the cosmic mountain of Meru, represented by Angkor Wat's central and tallest lotus bud tower. The enclosure wall around the main temple represented the mountains at the edge of the world, while the moat represented the cosmic sea from which life began. In this way, anyone entering Angkor Wat would go through a terrestrial version of the sacred progression to enlightenment in Hindu mythology. From crossing the cosmic sea, the starting point of one's journey to enlightenment, through obstacles one must overcome in the sacred mountains, finally to Mount Meru and the achievement of enlightenment. It is an amazing thing to create the heavens on earth using millions of tons of stone. But it was not just Hindu cosmology which made its way into the construction of Angkor Wat. There were a number of advanced astronomical details as well. Visitors realized that if they were standing at the entrance to the complex, the sun would rise perfectly over the central lotus bud tower on the equinox. But indeed, it went much further than that. Perhaps the most famous piece of art in the entire Angkor Wat complex is an enormous 160-foot-long carving which depicts the Hindu story of the churning of the ocean of milk from the Mahabharata. In the carving, there are 88 gods and 91 demons, all life-sized, pulling at a rope attached to a central churning pivot with Vishnu sitting in the center. On its own, it is an amazing piece of art. But archaeologists like Eleanor Manica have pointed out that the carving and its placement within the complex were not an accident. Rather, the carving was situated to act as a sort of giant calendar, counting the days between winter and summer solstices. The churning pivot in the middle of the carving, where Vishnu sits, represents the spring equinox, while 91 demons to one side represent the 91 days from equinox to winter solstice, and the 88 gods on the other represent the 88 days from equinox to summer solstice. As the sun moved across it, the carving would effectively count the days of the year. Similar to what they did with Hindu cosmology, the builders of Angkor Wat also inserted references to the movements of the sun and moon directly into the measurements of the complex. Consider the central tower's topmost elevation has external axial dimensions of 189 cubits east-west and 176.37 cubits north-south. Add these two numbers together and you get 365.37, almost the exact length of a solar year. Moreover, the central tower of Angkor Wat has 9 inner chambers, each with a total dimension of 27 cubits in the north-south direction and 28 cubits east-west. Why is this important? Because the moon's orbit takes 27 days, during which time it will appear to move through 27 successive regions of the sky. In Hindu cosmology, these regions are called lunar mansions, and depending on context, there can be either 27 or 28. In other words, while the top of the central tower reflects the orbit of the sun, the chambers beneath reflect the orbit of the moon. Put simply, between cosmological and astronomical implications, the entire Angkor Wat complex was built to be an expression of the greater celestial order. While many ancient sites have similar characteristics, rarely are so many seen in one place with such detail. Was the Khmer Empire really this far ahead of what historians imagined was possible? There is another thing, one final detail about Angkor Wat's alignment which must be mentioned. It has been shown that all the buildings in the Angkor Wat complex are perfectly aligned to the 4 cardinal points on the compass with a GPS level of precision. If Angkor Wat was built by the Khmer Empire some 900 years ago, how could this have been possible? No compass in existence at that time would have allowed for such a level of precision. Take a step back and look at everything together about Angkor Wat we've discussed so far. The astonishing level of building using millions of stones, the advanced water system spanning the largest pre-industrial urban area on Earth, the detailed astronomical and cosmological precision in design and layout. It is clear that Angkor Wat is one of the most astonishing sights on Earth. But in fact, it is not only when you step back that things are astonishing, but indeed when you step closer. Since it first entered public consciousness in the 1860s, one of the things which has always amazed people most about Angkor Wat is its carvings. Simply, they're everywhere, on the walls and pillars, doors and ceilings, even on the outside of the buildings. Although Angkor Wat is the largest temple in the world, every inch of it is covered with carvings, even on places no one will even be looking at. Some of these carvings are huge, like the churning of the ocean of milk, while others are often so small that they can barely be seen unless one looks closely at their intricate detail. Throughout the complex, there are more carvings than one person could possibly hope to examine in a lifetime. But as different people have slowly started to look through these carvings more closely, they have begun to notice some which are extremely bizarre. One such person is independent researcher and noted YouTube personality Praveen Mohan, who discovered more than one inexplicable carving during his research at Angkor Wat in 2021, in which he examined in person every inch of the temple. As expected, he found that carvings were everywhere, even outside of the temple, in places where people won't even see the carvings. But there was something even more astonishing. First, there was this carving to the sun god Surya, the personification of the sun in Hinduism. Below Surya in the carving are 9 figures, representing the 9 planets of our solar system, including Pluto, and their orbit around the Sun. It is a beautiful work of art. There is only one problem. Pluto wasn't officially discovered until 1930 and cannot be seen without a high-powered telescope. In fact, Neptune, the 8th planet in our solar system, was not discovered until the 1840s, while the 7th planet, Uranus, was only first noted in 1781, each many centuries after Angkor Wat was said to have been built. How could Angkor Wat's builders have known that there were 9 planets in orbit around the Sun? Mohan suggested that an answer may be provided in a different carving, one which depicts an incredible scene centered around the god Indra and a 3-headed elephant called Airavata. At the bottom of this carving is a man who appears to be watching the scene unfold through a telescope. He stands with a cylindrical device held to one eye, pressing his nose out of shape, while the other eye is closed. Did the builders of Angkor Wat know there were 9 planets because they saw them through a telescope? Note that according to the history books, the telescope was not invented until 1608, almost 500 years after we're told Angkor Wat was built. So, how could this be possible? This was not all, though. Elsewhere, Mohan noted a carving which showed a figure riding an elephant with 4 tusks. While some wrote this off as a depiction of a mythical scene, Mohan and others have pointed out that 4-tusked elephants did actually exist 2 million years ago, and in fact, fossils of these 4-tusked elephants have been found in Southeast Asia close to Cambodia. Could the builders of Angkor Wat have been aware of these animals long before fossils were officially discovered? And if so, how? Something even more bizarre was noticed by other researchers in the temple of Angkor Thom, a smaller temple less than 2 miles from Angkor Wat, which was a part of the greater Angkor urban area. There, a carving appears to depict a Stegosaurus dinosaur. To put 4 tusks on an elephant, an animal people in the region were well aware of, is one thing. A dinosaur is quite another. How could the builders of Angkor Wat have known about such an ancient creature? As inexplicable carvings like these have increasingly been found, many have begun to ask questions. Is Angkor Wat really 900 years old, built by the Khmer Empire? And if so, where did they get all this advanced knowledge of building and hydraulics, of astronomy, of animals long extinct? Is it possible that the Khmer Empire did not build Angkor Wat at all? And if they didn't, then who did? Could a civilization predating the Khmer Empire have actually been the true builders? And if they were, where did they go, and what else did they know? In 1934, a team of archaeologists led by Jean Comay were conducting research in the main chamber of the central tower of Angkor Wat when they came across a well set into the foundation beneath a large statue of the Buddha. The statue was not an original build, but had been added by generations of Khmers after their empire converted to Buddhism, and it appeared to have been built to intentionally obscure the well. But why? Kamal and his team slowly began to remove the centuries of debris which had filled the well, discovering as they did that it sunk far deeper into the ground than they'd imagined. At a depth of 50 feet, they ran into an underground water table which flooded the shaft, but they brought in water pumps and continued to excavate. They were glad they did, when finally, at a depth of just over 70 feet, they discovered a broken stone box blocking their path, with a strange circular cutout in the top. Within this cutout, they found 65 grams of gold leaf. What could this be, researchers wondered. Curious as it was, Kamal and his team did not pursue the question any further. Instead, they completed their work and returned to Europe without recording any further details, while the box itself was mysteriously lost. As questions about the secrets of Angkor Wat began to emerge in modern times, some returned to look at the work of Kumail more closely, asking questions and putting pieces together. At the top of the central tower of Angkor Wat, there is a hole which lets the sun shine through. Some have suggested that the process of the sun shining through the hole, down the shaft and onto the box, could have been part of some sort of solar energy device. The sun's rays interacting with the mysterious box to create and store energy. While at first the theory seemed far-fetched, its advocates pointed to an ancient account of Angkor Wat written long before Henry Mouhot, which appeared to provide evidence of how such a solar energy system could have worked. In 1276 CE, a Chinese diplomat named Zhou Daguan traveled to Angkor Wat during the peak of the Khmer Empire's power, where he stayed as a guest of the Khmer king for almost a year. While he was not the first person from China to visit the place, he was the first to provide a detailed account of the city and its people. Indeed, his seminal work, The Customs of Cambodia, is the only known written account from that time anywhere in the world. Within this account, something incredible is mentioned. As Zhou wrote, in the center of the capital is a gold tower, flanked by 20 or so stone towers and 100 or so stone chambers. According to Zhou, the central lotus bud tower of Angkor Wat was made of, or covered in, gold. This jumped out to those speculating about a solar energy device at ancient Angkor. If there was some sort of solar energy device buried within the central tower of Angkor Wat, then there must have been a way to access this energy. Gold is one of the most electrically conductive materials on Earth. If, as Zhou suggests, the central tower was originally covered in gold, could this have to do with the projection of energy? Here, many connected Angkor Wat with the work of famed inventor Nikola Tesla, who, in the early 1900s, developed a device known as the Tesla Tower, which was topped by a large ball of conductive metal and designed to pump the energy of the Earth skyward where it could be accessed by individual receptors around the world. Is it possible that Angkor Wat could have been doing something similar? Theories of an ancient electrical Angkor were only taken further in 2015, once again thanks to the LiDAR research of Damian Evans and Roland Fletcher. That year it was revealed that beneath the grounds of the Angkor Wat complex were sprawling structures forming the shape of a giant spiral, some 5,000 feet long. As findings were compiled, Evans and Fletcher were dumbfounded. The giant spiral was unlike anything they'd ever seen before, and they had no idea what it could be. Fletcher called it the most striking discovery associated with Angkor Wat to date, while in their report, the two men wrote, "The huge, unique, and problematic structure of the rectilinear spirals has never previously been recognized or even predicted or supposed and still defies explanation. Look closely at these spirals. Do they not look strangely electrical?" Some are already asserting that these spirals must have been part of an ancient energy system, acting as some sort of power grid storing and distributing energy. As more becomes known about the spirals in coming years, might they provide the proof of an ancient electrical Angkor? These are the types of questions which lead many to believe that the mystery of Angkor Wat might go much further than mainstream science is currently willing to accept, much further even than anyone imagined. Was Angkor Wat really built by the Khmer Empire 900 years ago? Or is it possible that the Khmers only discovered and used it, that in fact it was built long before them by some other advanced ancient builders? Note that when Zhou Daguan visited Angkor Wat in 1296, he was told by locals that the temple complex had been constructed by a divine architect in a single night. His visit took place less than 150 years after Angkor Wat was said to have been built by the same empire Zhou was visiting. If the Khmers had built it, would they not remember that they had? Would they not want to brag about their accomplishment to a foreign dignitary? Saying it was built by a divine builder sounds more like the explanation of a people who discovered a fantastic structure and needed a story for how it got there. Why say someone else built it, unless someone else built it? More importantly, if someone other than the Khmers built it, who were they? Did they really know the secrets of not just astronomy and hydraulics, but perhaps of energy generation? Regardless of the answer to these questions, what is clear is this. Even within the official explanation, Angkor Wat is one of the most amazing sights anywhere on Earth, the remnants of a mighty empire and the heart of an advanced urban area constructed by a people with astonishing building skills and precise astronomical knowledge. But maybe it goes further than that. Maybe Angkor Wat was not only the home to the Khmer Empire, but an advanced ancient civilization long forgotten. To this day, research at Angkor Wat is ongoing. Malihabad Fort is situated in the Karnataka region of central India, a region rich with history and adorned with numerous historical sites. The fort, officially dated to the 13th century, is a sprawling megalithic complex that captures the imagination not just with its scale but also with its construction techniques. The structure is renowned for its towering walls that stretch for 5 kilometers, 3.5 miles, and rise to about 30 feet, almost 10 meters, dominating the landscape with an imposing presence. This site is not just a fort. It's an exhibition of exquisite craftsmanship, featuring life-size stone elephants carved from white granite and a significant Shiva temple, complete with a bull statue and a lingam made of black granite. However, there's something undeniably strange and compelling about Malihabad Fort that goes beyond conventional historical understanding. There are some distinctive features of its construction that suggest it may belong to a much earlier era, possibly predating known civilizations. This theory is anchored in several compelling architectural elements observed at the site. One of the most striking aspects of Malihabad Fort is its polygonal wall construction. These walls, made of cyclopean blocks similar to those found in ancient structures in Peru, such as those at Sacsayhuaman, suggest a level of stonework sophistication that is often attributed to advanced ancient civilizations. The precise fitting of such immense stone blocks, which lack any binding mortar, indicates not only a mastery of stonecraft, but also advanced knowledge of engineering and geometry. The polygonal blocks feature stones that are intricately cut to fit together so tightly that not even a blade of grass could slide between them. This method, known as cyclopean masonry, involves the use of enormous granite blocks, each irregularly shaped, yet somehow precisely sculpted to lock into its neighbors. Just observe the remarkable way the blocks fit with each other. It's looking like the interlockings of a puzzle pieces. The extensive use of granite in the construction of the walls is a superb feat. Granite, known for its hardness and durability, is one of the toughest materials available for construction, which makes the architectural achievements of the fort even more remarkable. The largest of the stones are up to 20 feet in length, approximately 6 meters, and assembled into just 5 layers of stone. The granite blocks used in the construction of the fort's walls are dressed with such precision that their smooth surfaces offer no handholds, thwarting any attempts to scale them. The seamless matching of the edges of these massive blocks remains a mystery to modern observers. Behind this visible layer of perfectly aligned granite lies another layer of stone, followed by packed rubble. This design is indicative of a sophisticated understanding of construction that prioritizes both durability and stability. The use of a rubble core, sandwiched between layers of meticulously cut granite, likely contributes to the fort's ability to withstand seismic activities, suggesting that these walls were built with not only immediate defense in mind, but also long-term resilience. The enduring solidity of the walls, capable of withstanding earthquakes for millennia, raises intriguing questions about the age of the fort. Without definitive historical records to pinpoint its exact time of construction, the age of Malabat Fort is shrouded in mystery. The architectural sophistication evident in the walls implies that they could be much older than commonly documented, possibly predating the medieval period that mainstream historians attribute it to. This megalithic and possibly prehistoric structure is relatively unknown, even to the Indians living in the nearby area. The only reason we found about it was thanks to the Megalithomania channel, hosted by Hugh Newman. It was last year when Hugh Newman visited the site, traveling all the way to India and publishing a remarkable documentary, exploring every aspect of the site. One notable discovery made by Hugh was that just like all other prehistoric megalithic stone walls around the world, the ones at Malabat Fort also have these strange knobs on the surface of the blocks, similar to those found on other prehistoric structures like the massive walls in Peru, Egypt, China, and numerous other places. These similarities across continents hint at a possible interconnected prehistoric world, or perhaps even an advanced global civilization that built these structures everywhere they went. It's quite interesting to observe that around the megalithic walls, there are large portions of scattered ruins and destroyed structures. It makes you wonder how old the site actually is, and what kind of cataclysm destroyed and scattered these massive solid walls. But the gigantic megalithic walls of Malabat Fort weren't the only impressive feature of this ancient site. Hugh Newman was equally captivated by the remarkable stonework within the nearby Shiva temple. The Shiva temple, hosting the sacred bull and the outstanding Shiva lingam, are two extremely precise and meticulously crafted artifacts made from polished black granite, a material known for its durability and intense hardness. The ability to polish black granite to a mirror-like finish and adorn it to perfection with such intricate details speaks volumes about the advanced technological insight of the temple builders. Hugh Newman's theory is that these artifacts survived for thousands of years, despite the poor condition of the temple itself. The reason he believed that was that in and around the temple, there are many reminiscences of the prehistoric stone blocks with precise machine marks on them, cut so precise they defy any modern historical narrative. The old stone blocks not only had these remarkable machine marks and cuts on them, but they also looked perfectly polished. The finely carved details and the symmetrical shapes on the stones indicated a sophisticated understanding of stonework, which challenged the notion that such structures could only have been created with basic, rudimentary methods and primitive tools. To explore Malabat Fort and various other prehistoric megastructures further, check out the Megalithomania YouTube channel, or watch Hugh Newman's detailed video via the link in the description below. Considering everything we discussed so far, the question is, if this prehistoric megalithic wall, evidently built using advanced technology, is still standing today, why isn't this remarkable site regarded as definitive evidence of a sophisticated prehistoric civilization that has since vanished? Well, the thing is, the entire site is considered to be from the 13th century due to its documented use during that period. Yet, many believe that since a proper dating hasn't been conducted, parts of the site, precisely the polygonal megalithic walls, could be far, far more ancient, possibly prehistoric. This hypothesis is driven by the precision and sophistication of the stone masonry, which suggests capabilities that surpass those documented for the region during the more recent historical periods. The argument for a much older origin points to the advanced techniques used in shaping and assembling the massive granite blocks. Additionally, the scale of the construction, with walls stretching for kilometers and built with such exactitude, could hint at the presence of a highly organized and technologically advanced society long before any recorded history in the region. Moreover, the 13th century was a time of considerable conflict and consolidation in many parts of the world, including the region around Maliabad. Forts were often built and expanded upon using existing structures as a basis, which might explain why pre-existing walls and foundations could have been incorporated into newer constructions. This layering of historical phases makes it difficult to definitively assert that the entire structure dates back to the 13th century without more concrete archaeological evidence, such as carbon dating or other forms of material analysis that could directly date the original construction phases of the walls themselves. The Maliabad fort was used under the expansive regime of the Delhi Sultanate, which dominated much of the Indian subcontinent from the 13th to the 16th century. While the massive walls of the fort could indeed predate the Sultanate, there is ample evidence suggesting significant use and possibly enhancements during their rule. Maliabad Fort's primary function under the Delhi Sultanate was military. Positioned strategically, it likely served as a vital outpost on the periphery of the Sultanate's territories, monitoring and securing the borders against invasions, particularly from the Mongols, who were a constant threat during this period. The fort's formidable walls, some of which may have been erected or reconstructed by the Sultanate, were essential for defense, providing a sturdy barrier against attackers. While the original walls of the fort could be much older, the Sultanate might have undertaken significant reconstruction efforts to repair, reinforce, and possibly expand the existing structures to meet contemporary military needs. Beyond its military functions, Maliabad Fort also likely served as an administrative center. As the Delhi Sultanate was known for its structured approach to governance, the fort could have housed offices for local administrators who managed land records, tax collection, and law enforcement. This dual use would make the fort a hub of activity, centralizing control and disseminating the Sultanate's policies throughout the region. Moreover, given its strategic location, the fort might have played a role in trade. Positioned along potentially lucrative trade routes, it could have acted as a checkpoint for goods moving in and out of the Sultanate's territories, collecting duties and taxes, thus contributing to the state treasury. The presence of marketplaces within or near the fort's premises would not be unlikely, where traders and caravans could rest, resupply, and engage in commerce under the protection of the fort's walls. Culturally, the Delhi Sultanate left a significant mark on the regions it controlled, introducing Persian art, architecture, language, and customs. Within the confines of Maliabad Fort, the Sultanate might have constructed mosques and madrasas, promoting Islamic education and religious practices. The existence of the Shiva temple within the fort, however, also suggests a degree of religious tolerance and the integration of local Hindu practices within the predominantly Islamic framework of the Sultanate. In conclusion, the remarkable nature of Maliabad Fort, coupled with the sophisticated engineering evident in its construction, raises compelling questions about its origins, possibly stretching back to a prehistoric era. The seamless integration of massive stone blocks, polished surfaces, and precise architectural alignments seen at Maliabad Fort are characteristic of a highly advanced civilization, potentially predating the documented historical records of the region. While the fort's use during the reign of the Delhi Sultanate in the 13th century is well documented, the architectural and archaeological clues may hint at a much older foundation. The existing structures, possibly built upon or integrated with earlier constructions, could indeed belong to a bygone era that predates conventional historical accounts. Further archaeological exploration and advanced dating techniques may unveil more about the true age of Maliabad Fort. If proven to be prehistoric, the fort could significantly alter our understanding of the region's early history and the technological capabilities of its ancient peoples. It could establish the fort not just as a medieval military stronghold, but as a crucial archaeological link to a lost advanced civilization, whose ingenuity and cultural sophistication have withstood the test of time, encapsulated in the enduring legacy of its monumental architecture. Hidden within the rugged granite hills of Bihar, India, the Barabar Caves whisper secrets far older and deeper than conventional history dares acknowledge. Traditionally, mainstream historians credit the Barabar Caves to the Mauryan Empire of Emperor Ashoka around the 3rd century BCE. Yet, these extraordinary caves possess an uncanny level of precision and polish, suggesting origins rooted in an ancient civilization that might predate the Mauryans by centuries, perhaps even millennia. Set within the tranquil landscapes of Bihar, India, the Barabar Caves feature an extraordinary arrangement of chambers intricately carved into solid granite hills. These hills, known as the Barabar Hills, extend roughly 330 feet and have a unique shape, resembling the smooth, curved back of a whale gracefully rising from the earth. This whale-back formation creates a dramatic natural stage for some of the world's most enigmatic ancient structures. Within this formation lie 4 caves: Sudama, Lomas Rishi, Karna Chaupar, and Vishwakarma. Each cave is carefully positioned along the granite hill, hinting at intentional spatial planning. Their entrances are distinctly trapezoidal, opening into passageways that lead visitors deep inside the heart of the solid rock. Approximately 1.5 miles northeast of Barabar lies Nagarjuni Hill, an extension of this fascinating cave complex. Here, 3 additional caves, Gopika, Vadathika, and Vapiyaka, continue the exceptional craftsmanship and geometric precision found at Barabar. Approaching the Barabar Hills, one sees only modest cave entrances carved into solid granite, unassuming and easily overlooked. Yet, stepping inside, visitors encounter a spectacle so profound that it immediately challenges established archaeological narratives. Walls polished to an astonishing degree reflect like mirrors, their flawless surfaces achieving a smoothness that surpasses even today's industrial capabilities. Granite, known for its incredible hardness, presents tremendous challenges even for modern artisans equipped with power tools and precision machinery. The Barabar polish, achieved on a grand scale across vertical and curved surfaces, defies easy explanation. When researchers analyzed the surfaces within the Sudama cave, they recorded an astonishing roughness height, RZ, of just 0.466. To put this remarkable feat into context, modern industrially polished granite typically achieves an RZ value of around 9.492. This means the granite surfaces in the Barabar caves are roughly 20 times smoother than even the finest granite polishing, attainable with today's advanced machinery. Mainstream archaeology suggests Mauryan workers painstakingly polished these walls with primitive abrasive techniques. However, such explanations falter when confronted with the sheer precision and scale. No other contemporaneous civilization, neither in India nor elsewhere, achieved comparable results, raising questions about the true origins of these caves. The chambers inside display symmetry so flawless that, if divided into two halves, each side mirrors the other with astonishing accuracy, hence the Hindi name Barabar, meaning equal or uniform. To fully grasp the staggering achievement this represents, consider modern construction standards. Today, differences of an inch or less between corresponding sides of a structure are generally acceptable, even in carefully engineered buildings. Yet in the Barabar caves, deviations from perfect symmetry measure only about 0.1 inches or 2.5 millimeters, an astonishing level of accuracy that's nearly impossible to achieve without advanced tools. Furthermore, the floors within these caves are impeccably rectangular, featuring pristine 90-degree corners devoid of any visible distortion. The walls, rather than standing fully vertical, slant intentionally and precisely at an angle of approximately 87 degrees, a design choice far more challenging than erecting strictly vertical walls. The ceilings, too, feature impeccably centered arches, crafted with such mathematical exactness that they still astonish engineers today. The consistency in chamber measurements further highlights the builder's adherence to precise geometric principles. For example, chambers such as Karan Chopar and Gopika share identical dimensions and proportions, following a clear 2:3 ratio, 2 parts width to 3 parts length. This proportion also appears consistently in other chambers like Karna Chowpar and Gopika, indicating deliberate planning rooted in advanced geometry. Moreover, the careful calculation extends even to the volumes of chambers, some of which are cylindrical or spherical. Achieving such forms with mathematical accuracy implies knowledge of advanced geometry and the precise use of constants like pi, long before these mathematical principles were formally documented historically. These astonishing facts raise compelling questions. Would ancient artisans have gone to such extraordinary lengths merely to create basic shelters or meditation chambers? Or does the exceptional precision of the Barabar cave suggest a deeper, possibly more profound purpose? Perhaps one aligned with principles or functions we have yet to fully understand. If you're fascinated by the prehistoric civilizations missing from our history books, embark on a remarkable journey with our ebook, Prehistoric Megastructures. This nearly 500-page volume is packed with images and in-depth explorations of some of the most astonishing and unexplained ancient structures ever discovered, monuments that were clearly built with advanced technology from a time long forgotten. There's a limited discount on the ebook, so make sure to click the link in the description or top pinned comment and uncover the mysteries that mainstream history refuses to acknowledge. The acoustics of the Barabar caves add another layer to this mystery. Each chamber resonates with incredible precision, echoing sounds in such a way that chanting or humming within becomes a transformative, almost mystical experience. These acoustic properties suggest purposeful design, indicating a sophisticated understanding of resonance and sound engineering that should, by conventional standards, have been far beyond the Mauryans. Modern acoustical studies have noted that the Barabar chambers act like resonating cavities. The vaulted symmetrical shapes of the rooms and the hard granite surfaces reflect sound waves in such a way that certain frequencies are sustained.
Where are you?
Any sound produced within the chambers resonates and amplifies in ways modern technology finds challenging to replicate. Remarkably, low-frequency sounds can reverberate inside these caves for up to 62 seconds, an astonishing duration when compared with renowned acoustical spaces today. For perspective, the celebrated Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, famous worldwide for its acoustics, achieves a reverberation time of just 10 to 12 seconds. This prolonged resonance strongly implies that the Barabar chambers were not designed for ordinary conversation or casual gatherings. Speech would become blurred and unintelligible within moments.
Et en même temps qu'elle est très légèrement incurvée, elle est aussi très légèrement inclinée. Si tu arrives à ça.
The acoustic perfection, far exceeding functional necessity, implies an ancient understanding of sound's power, perhaps used for healing, meditation, or even more profound purposes that we have yet to fully comprehend. Modern research has already proven that sound vibrations can calm the mind and even heal the body. Equally perplexing is the geometric perfection found within each cave. Every chamber displays exact symmetry, calculated proportions, and mathematically precise curvatures. The remarkable consistency and uniformity across multiple caves strongly indicate advanced planning and precision tools. For instance, the Sudama Cave's inner chamber is perfectly proportioned and shaped like a precise hemispherical dome, suggesting deliberate alignment and design mastery. This level of geometric accuracy strongly suggests advanced mathematical knowledge. Could the Mauryans, whose architectural contributions elsewhere are notably less sophisticated, have suddenly mastered such precise geometry for these isolated structures? The absence of any transitional or evolving architectural attempts in the region amplifies this mystery, hinting at lost knowledge from a much earlier civilization. Interestingly, inscriptions within the caves attributed to Ashoka are surprisingly crude and amateurish compared to the sophisticated architecture itself. This disparity suggests these inscriptions were later additions, possibly by Mauryans who discovered the caves and, not fully understanding their origin, attributed them to their well-known emperor. Nevertheless, mainstream historians attribute the construction of the Barabar caves to around 250 BCE, approximately 2,270 years ago, based solely on the inscriptions within the caves, as they reference Emperor Ashoka. Even if the Barabar caves were 2,270 years old, this still makes them the oldest rock-cut caves in the world, which is truly astonishing. But if the Mauryans constructed the site with such astonishing precision, wouldn't the inscriptions themselves show the same level of mastery as the smooth, glass-like polish of the granite? Modern stonemasons themselves say it cannot be accomplished in the 12-year time frame dated by archaeologists, so it's difficult for us as alternative researchers to accept this established theory as fact. Modern craftsmen state that replicating the Barabar caves even today would be nearly impossible. They believe the polishing of the walls could have taken decades, even centuries, given how detailed the work is. This mismatch is telling, revealing that the Mauryans might have been inheritors rather than creators. They stumbled upon these ancient masterpieces, awed by their inexplicable sophistication, and inscribed their own marks upon them, perhaps in reverence or to legitimize their own rule by association with such remarkable sites. Could the Barabar caves be a remnant of a lost global culture, one whose technological sophistication was eventually erased by natural disasters, climate shifts, or cultural upheaval? Given the extraordinary nature of Barabar, one must consider what sort of technology might have facilitated their construction. The mirror-like granite surfaces could indicate some form of high-speed abrasive polishing, ultrasonic techniques, or even chemical polishing methods now lost to history. The exactness of geometry and acoustics suggests sophisticated tools capable of precise measurements and alignments. Indeed, modern experiments in ultrasonic drilling and high-heat polishing show how such surfaces might have been created. While no direct archaeological evidence of such technology has yet emerged, the enduring mystery of Barabar's polish strongly supports the possibility of forgotten tools or techniques. In a way, the Barabar caves resemble giant architectural eggs, plain on the outside, but inside they harbor perfectly oval and curved spaces. Finally, one cannot ignore the intricate entrance of the Lomas Rishi cave, which is a work of art in itself. Carved to imitate the facade of a thatched wooden hut, it features an ogi-shaped chaitya arch with rows of relief-carved elephants marching toward stupas. This ornamental gateway, the only elaborately decorated exterior at Barabar, demonstrates that the Mauryan craftsmen who later decorated the entrance were equally adept at fine carving as these prehistoric builders were in granite polishing. The original prehistoric design of the doorways of Barabar is the distinctively shaped trapezoidal doorways, a striking architectural feature that, strangely, could be found all across the globe in advanced ancient megalithic constructions. Similar trapezoidal entrances can be observed thousands of miles away in Egypt and Peru. Such parallels across continents raise compelling questions about a shared architectural language, hinting at a lost or globally dispersed ancient civilization possessing sophisticated construction principles. Equally intriguing is the unparalleled precision and polish found within the Barabar caves themselves. This extraordinary mirror-like granite finish closely mirrors the legendary polishing techniques displayed at Egypt's Serapeum of Saqqara. The immense granite sarcophagi in the Serapeum exhibit an astonishing smoothness, precision, and quality of polish virtually identical to that seen within the Barabar caves. Both sites defy explanation by conventional historical methods, suggesting the intriguing possibility that the builders at Barabar and the Egyptian Serapeum might have shared common technology, knowledge, or even belonged to a single advanced civilization whose techniques have since vanished from human memory. Not surprisingly, the Serapeum is also dated based on the rough carvings on the perfectly polished granite, which were undoubtedly added thousands of years later. With their unparalleled polish, acoustics, and geometry, the Barabar caves occupy a unique place in India's ancient heritage, one that conventional explanations only partly illuminate. Mainstream history attributes the caves to the skill of Mauryan artisans, possibly aided by techniques learned from Persian stonemasons. Yet so much about Barabar seems out of place for its time that alternative theories naturally arise. How did a technology appear so suddenly and vanish so completely? Could there have been an even earlier repository of knowledge that Ashoka tapped into? Some researchers point to hints of advanced stoneworking in prehistoric India, Neolithic polished stone axes, for instance, but acknowledge that there is no trace of evolution from those small tools to the grand polished caves of Barabar. It is as if the Barabar technique was a standalone achievement or part of a legacy that left few other traces. One tantalizing idea is that Barabar represents a vestige of a lost civilization or a higher knowledge. Proponents of this view suggest that the cave's creators might have possessed tools or methods far beyond the standard iron chisels and abrasives assumed by archaeologists. They speculate about the use of advanced alloys for tools, secret formulas for polishing compounds, or even sonic drilling techniques handed down from an earlier age. While such ideas remain unproven, Barabar's almost eerie perfection gives them a compelling allure. The polish achieved on such a hard rock on such a large scale has in many ways no parallel in later Indian architecture, a fact that begs the question of why no one else, in thousands of years, replicated this feat. If it were simply a matter of extra labor or imperial resources, we might expect at least a few other examples. Instead, Barabar stands virtually alone. Crucially, none of these more exotic theories diminish the achievement of the Mauryan craftsmen. On the contrary, they underscore how advanced those builders were. Whether through extraordinary skill, unique knowledge transfer, or some forgotten technology, the fact remains that humans over 2 millennia ago achieved something at Barabar that still elicits wonder today. The caves force us to reconsider the technical ceiling of ancient societies. They hint that perhaps ancient India, often celebrated for spiritual and literary accomplishments, may also harbor secrets of high science and technology waiting to be recognized. In the dense forests of Karnataka, India, an ancient riverbed holds a baffling secret, one that could rewrite our understanding of history and early science. The Shalmala River, when running low, reveals hundreds upon hundreds of Shiva lingams, sacred phallic symbols of Lord Shiva, carved directly into its rocky bed. This site, aptly named Sahasralinga, meaning 1,000 lingas, is a place of pilgrimage and wonder. Amidst these countless carvings lies a particularly mysterious engraving, a large central disc encircled by 9 smaller round holes. At first glance, it might be dismissed as an ornamental design, but when the famous Indian researcher and YouTuber Praveen Mohan visited the site, he noted something remarkable. He brought forward the fact that the carvings uncannily resemble the Sun and its 9 orbiting planets. The mere presence of this solar depiction raises provocative questions. How could pre-modern artisans have known about all 9 planets in our solar system, including those invisible to the naked eye? Is Sahasralinga far older or more significant than conventional history suggests? Sahasralinga is not a typical temple enclosed by walls. It is an open-air gallery of sacred art scattered along a flowing river. The carvings are perfect in their geometry, displaying the unmistakable oval form of the Shiva lingam, paired with the yoni base that represents the divine feminine, the balance of cosmic principles. Others are smaller, sometimes clustered, suggesting mass dedication. But what is striking is not only their number, but their placement. They are carved directly into the natural bedrock of the river, which means that the work had to withstand not only the difficulty of carving hard rock, but also the erosive, relentless force of flowing water for thousands of years. But there's something stranger. When we consider the geological history of the region, evidence suggests that the river levels were far higher in ancient times than they are today. This means that the thousands of lingams we now see etched into exposed rocks would not have been accessible from dry ground when they were created. They would have been completely submerged beneath fast-moving water, hidden below a deeper channel of the river. This single fact forces us to reconsider everything we assume about the site. If the carvings were made thousands of years ago while the river was much higher, then they were deliberately created underwater. Even today, during the monsoon and high water months, most of these sculptures are completely submerged beneath the flowing water. Visitors who come at the wrong season might see nothing unusual at all, as the river conceals the lingas beneath its currents. In the dry season or periods of drought, however, the water level drops and stone lingas emerge into view. In recent years, locals have observed that more lingas are visible than before, a phenomenon attributed to changing climate and lower water levels. The site is thus sometimes described as playing hide and seek with pilgrims, at times revealing a rocky field of sacred icons, and at other times hiding them underwater. To carve hard granite beneath a flowing river is not a simple devotional act. It is a feat of technology. Even with today's modern equipment, carving underwater is a challenge, requiring diving gear, specialized tools, and stabilization against currents. How then could people of supposed antiquity have managed it? If they truly worked beneath the river, they must have possessed either advanced techniques that have since been lost, or tools of a sophistication we cannot easily imagine. Perhaps they understood the use of air pockets or chambers beneath the waterline. Perhaps they had methods of hardening tools beyond the reach of conventional metallurgy. Or perhaps they possessed technologies altogether outside our current framework: energy-based stoneworking, acoustic or vibrational carving, techniques hinted at in legends of ancient India where gods wielded weapons of sound and light. The erosion of the carvings adds weight to this theory. Many lingams show extreme smoothing, as if they have endured millennia of constant submersion, with water grinding their surfaces far longer than just a few centuries. Only now, with the lowering of the river levels due to shifting climate and global warming, are these carvings more visible, revealed after ages of concealment. What we see today may be the re-emergence of an ancient project that was never meant to be viewed from the banks, but rather to exist in eternal communion with water. If this is true, then Sahasralinga is not only a mystery of devotion, but a direct indication of advanced prehistoric technology. Among all the carvings in Sahasralinga, there is one that towers above the rest in its implications. Carved on a flat rock surface is a large circular depression surrounded by 9 smaller circular hollows evenly arranged around the central circle. The layout is immediately evocative of something very familiar to the modern eye. It looks like a diagram of the sun with planets orbiting around it. The central circle is the largest, strongly suggesting the sun, while the 9 smaller circles around could correspond to 9 planets, in the same way illustrations of the solar system often show. Locals who guide visitors, and most notably the famous Indian researcher Praveen Mohan, who made several videos on the site, proudly claim that this carving represents our solar system, carved long before the discovery of some of these planets in modern times. For centuries, human civilizations knew of only 7 celestial bodies: the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Uranus was invisible to the naked eye until it was identified with a telescope in 1781 by William Herschel. Neptune was discovered later in 1846 by Urbain Le Verrier and Johann Galle, again with mathematical predictions and telescopic confirmation. Pluto, the 9th and most elusive, was first observed only in 1930 by Clyde Tombaugh at Lowell Observatory in Arizona, using photographic plates and meticulous comparison techniques. Only in 2006 did Pluto get reclassified as a dwarf planet by the International Astronomical Union, reverting the official count to 8 planets. Before telescopes, before photographic astronomy, before modern science itself, Pluto was beyond reach, a tiny dim body orbiting at the edge of the solar system, invisible to human eyes. And yet here, carved into the ancient stone of Sahasralinga, is a depiction with 9 bodies orbiting a central sun. How could the carvers have known of Pluto thousands of years before modern astronomy confirmed it? The naked eye cannot perceive it, and even Uranus and Neptune appear only as faint stars without telescopic aid. The presence of 9 circles suggests either astonishing coincidence or knowledge inherited from a culture that possessed means of celestial observation beyond our comprehension. This changes the way we must interpret Sahasralinga. It is no longer only a river temple, a devotional site where lingams were carved for worship. It is also an astronomical record, a cosmic diagram carved in stone. The Vedic texts themselves often speak of cosmic knowledge granted by the gods, of rishis, Hindu sages, who received insights from the heavens. Could this carving be the physical proof of such transmission? Pluto's modern discovery underscores the magnitude of this mystery. If this is so, then the Sahasralinga solar carving aligns with other enigmatic artifacts around the world. The Babylonian Mulapin tablets record detailed astronomical data thousands of years old. The Mayans charted Venus and eclipses with astonishing accuracy. The Dogon of Mali preserved knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible without telescopes. All across the globe, fragments of ancient astronomical wisdom surface from history, hinting at a lost chapter of humanity where the heavens were mapped with sophistication long before modern science. Sahasralinga, with its 9-planet carving, is India's contribution to this global mystery. And what is most striking is that this knowledge was not hidden in an esoteric manuscript, vulnerable to decay, but inscribed into living rock beneath flowing water, ensuring that it would survive ages of climate shifts and dynastic rise and fall. Only now, as the river recedes, do we witness what the ancients left us, a message that they knew more about the cosmos than we give them credit for. This one carving alone challenges the mainstream narrative. If a culture thousands of years ago could depict the solar system, then the boundaries of human history must be redrawn. Either they possessed instruments we have not yet discovered, or they inherited their knowledge from a much older, advanced civilization, one whose memory echoes in myths of the gods, of divine architects, of cosmic teachers. Beyond the astronomical implications, the solar carving at Sahasralinga is also intriguing from an engineering perspective. The 9 small circles and the large central circle are all perfectly round and have a noticeable depth, making them 3-dimensional hemispherical hollows in the hard rock. Carving such precise circular bowls into stone is no easy task. If one attempts to do this with simple hand tools like a hammer and chisel, achieving a truly circular, smooth depression, let alone 9 of them of equal size, is impossible. This hints that the artisans might have employed some kind of rotational tool or drilling technique to carve these shapes. In other words, the work shows signs of what we today would call machining of stone. Modern engineers recognize the telltale signs of rotary cutting, where consistent pressure and movement create evenly rounded grooves. To attempt this with hammer and chisel, especially underwater, would be impossible. Granite is one of the hardest stones on Earth, requiring diamond or hardened steel tools even today. And yet here, on the bedrock of a river in Karnataka, circles of remarkable symmetry have been etched with care, their proportions balanced, their surfaces smoothed as if a precision instrument was at work. The fact that the carving was made underwater magnifies the impossibility. Anyone who has tried to cut or drill into stone knows how difficult it is on dry land, even with modern power tools. Underwater, the task becomes exponentially harder. Visibility is reduced, stability is compromised by current, and the force of impact is dispersed by water. According to mainstream archaeology and local tradition, the carvings at Sahasralinga are usually dated to the period of the Kaladi Nayaka kings, around the 17th century CE. The story often repeated is that King Sadashivaraya Varma, a ruler of Sirsi in Karnataka, commissioned the mass carving of lingams into the rocks of the riverbed as an act of devotion to Lord Shiva. Historical records describe him as a pious king who encouraged temple building and religious expression, and so the thousands of carvings at Sahasralinga are attributed to his reign. In this narrative, the river is simply a grand outdoor temple, and the site is little more than a 400-year-old expression of devotion. On the surface, this explanation is convenient. It ties the carvings neatly to a known dynasty. It reduces the mystery to a royal commission, and it places the site within a time frame that scholars are comfortable with. But the deeper one looks, the less convincing this account becomes. First, the sheer logistics of carving thousands of lingams directly into the granite of a flowing river stretch plausibility. Chisels and hammers would not leave behind the kind of precision we see, especially in the circular solar carving. Nor would they have chosen such an impractical location, submerged in water, where their efforts would be invisible. If the goal was religious visibility and long-term preservation, a temple wall or dry riverbank would have served far better. Highly suspect. In 1600, Pluto was not even imagined. Uranus and Neptune had not yet been discovered. A medieval Indian king could not possibly have ordered a carving that depicted all 9 planets of the solar system with such clarity. The official dating also fails to address the technical challenges. The uniformity of the circles, the smoothness of the carvings, and the placement underwater all point to methods that seem advanced even by today's standards. If the site truly originated in the 17th century, we must imagine village craftsmen using iron chisels to somehow achieve rotary drill precision underwater. The narrative collapses under its own weight. What makes more sense is that the site is vastly older, perhaps thousands of years before the 17th century. Furthermore, this particular carved panel has unfortunately suffered deliberate damage. Visitors can observe that adjacent to the circular array, a much larger circular area on the rock has been crudely hacked away by vandals. We do not know what originally existed in that space, possibly another large symbol or extension of the diagram, because it has been obliterated by human interference. Whether out of mischief or some misguided attempt at iconoclasm, someone has defaced what might have been an even more enlightening part of the carving. It is heartbreaking, as it robs us of potentially valuable information. If it was another solar diagram or more advanced cosmic information, its loss means a piece of the puzzle is missing. What remains, however, is enough to captivate us: the sun and 9 orbs, preserved in stone. What's more interesting is that some of the lingas, when connected, depict the Pleiades constellation. Another detail of the site is this piece of rock that looks like it was melted. How is this possible? Interestingly, similar 1,000-linga river carvings exist elsewhere, most notably at Kabal Speen in Cambodia, near Angkor Wat. India itself has other linga-carved riverbeds, such as sites in modern-day Odisha and near the historic city of Hampi. These parallels suggest that the practice of carving lingas in river rock has ancient roots in Hindu tradition. Could Sahasralinga be part of that older continuum, its true origins receding further back in time than the 17th century? While hard evidence is scarce, the mysteries embedded in the site, especially the puzzling solar system carving, invite us to keep an open mind about its antiquity. If this is the case, then Sahasralinga belongs not to the 1600s but to a far older epoch, possibly prehistoric. The technological signatures, the solar system carving, and the underwater placement all point to an origin many millennia before the Kaladi Kingdom. It may be a surviving fragment of a lost civilization, one that combined devotion, cosmology, and technology in ways that baffle us today. The official dating, while tidy and convenient, ignores the deeper truths written into the stone itself. And if we choose to read those truths with open eyes, Sahasralinga may be not a medieval curiosity, but a prehistoric archive, a voice from an age when humanity walked closer to the gods. With great symbols representing majesty and power, mythical gods and pharaohs, and great technological inventions that changed the world, we are used to seeing Egypt and Sumer as the oldest and most advanced civilizations in history. However, recent scientific research indicates that a mysterious ancient civilization located between Pakistan and India predates these two incredible cultures. Indeed, researchers believe that this civilization, known as the Harappan or Indus Valley Civilization, is around 8,000 years old, which means that it's even older than the Great Sumerians. Its most famous city, Mohenjo-Daro, is a clear example of a well-established and highly advanced urban center, which includes sewage systems, roads, well-organized houses, agriculture, and artwork, among other things. However, even with all the information that researchers already have about these ancient people, the Harappan civilization also remains one of the most mysterious in history. Its script has not yet been deciphered. Its urban planning and irrigation systems were more advanced even than most cities in modern India, and the civilization suddenly disappeared for reasons that are still not entirely clear. How did the Harappan civilization achieve such a degree of cultural and technological development? What was their secret? Did someone help them, or were they the descendants of an even older advanced civilization? And what is the mystery surrounding its sudden disappearance? In a study published in the Dawn Journal, researchers from the Archaeological Society of India and the IIT Kharagpur examined different radiocarbon-based tests conducted on various fragments of ceramic pieces and bones of domestic animals from a settlement in Birana, a village located 140 miles northwest of New Delhi. The researchers were able to establish that this settlement is at least 8,000 years old. In this sense, the Harappan civilization from which this village was part would outdate the ancient Egyptian and Sumerian civilizations by at least 1,000 years. This completely alters our perception of the ancient world's urban settlements in that region. On the other hand, this study has also helped to establish the different stages that the Harappan civilization went through until it reached its peak around 3000 BC, as well as its subsequent decline and disappearance. Professor Anindya Sarkar from the Department of Geology and Geophysics at IIT Kharagpur weighs in on the relevance of this discovery. Our study pushes back the antiquity to as old as the 8th millennium before the present and will have major implications to the evolution of human settlements in the Indian subcontinent. Additional studies indicate that at its peak, this mysterious Harappan civilization had more than 5 million inhabitants, an outstanding number at that time. For comparison, consider the Sumerian civilization, which was estimated to have had a population of around 1.5 million. The first time a trace of this lost civilization was found was with the discovery of the lost city of Harappa in 1921. From this city came the name of the civilization we now call Harappan. Since then, more than 1,051 cities and settlements have been found. One of them is the city of Mohenjo-Daro. This city is located near the Indus River and is a true gem of urban planning from the ancient era and quickly became the most famous Harappan city. Although the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro were first found by a group of archaeologists in 1911, professional archaeological excavations were actually carried out from the 1920s to the 1930s by Sir John Marshall, the General Director of the Archaeological Survey of India. At first, the archaeologists didn't know what to name the city, but after their excavations uncovered many strange skeletons lying scattered in streets and houses, they ended up naming it Mohenjo-Daro, which means the Mound of the Dead. Despite its bleak name, the city stands out as the Indian subcontinent's first major urban center, and its sophisticated urban development is quite impressive. The people of this city not only knew urban planning, but also knew how to farm, work with metals, and express themselves in written language. The city itself was arranged in grids, and its houses had separate rooms for different activities, including a kitchen, living room, bedrooms, patios, bathrooms, and drainage systems, much like a modern house would. This last aspect, that of water control, is precisely one of the most impressive developments of the Indus Valley civilization. Today, it's easy to think that the populations that lived more than 4,000 years ago used extremely rudimentary systems to make use of water and satisfy their various needs. For example, transporting water in buckets from the river to the houses or digging a hole in the ground to use as a toilet. But this wasn't the case with the Harappan civilization. The houses had a water supply and plumbing system, with the bathrooms and toilets well separated from the rest of the rooms. The city also had more than 700 water wells and an elaborate sewage system that allowed water to circulate harmoniously throughout the city. Within a part of the city known as the Citadel, they also built a 900-square-foot structure called the Great Bath, which they filled by pumping water from the Indus River. Keep in mind that the Romans only managed to build their famous baths around 70 BC, so the people of the Indus Valley were more than 2,500 years ahead. As it turns out, this lost civilization had one of the world's first sanitary systems. All of this is remarkable, considering that between 20,000 and 40,000 people lived together only in Mohenjo-Daro, and Mohenjo-Daro wasn't even the biggest city of the Harappan civilization. That would be the city of Rakhigarhi, which was discovered only in 1969, and as of today, just 5% of the site has been excavated. Who knows what secrets and mysteries we may uncover about this lost civilization as the excavation progresses? If Rakhigarhi is the largest city, could it also have served as something of a capital of the Harappan civilization? And if it did, just imagine how technologically advanced it would be compared to Mohenjo-Daro. Mohenjo-Daro itself had very sophisticated planning, combining a water supply system, buildings, markets, granaries, and warehouses, all located in the most convenient place. This high level of planning was impossible unless the Harappan civilization had some sort of elaborate system of weights and measurements they used for all their activities, which is still unknown to us. What we do know is that there was a strict standardization in construction, with bricks corresponding to sizes in a perfect ratio of 4:2:1. Additionally, the people who lived in cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were true masters of farming. Because of the civilization's age, experts continue to debate whether these people developed agriculture and animal husbandry independently or learned them from other populations of the time. To add to the mystery, some genetic studies reveal that the farming populations of the Indus never became closely related to their closest farming neighbors, who inhabited what is now Iran and whom experts consider being the first to develop agriculture in the region more than 10,000 years ago. Today, it's accepted that the spread of agriculture was carried out in different parts of the world thanks to the export of this knowledge that some people made. In fact, genetic studies conducted in Europe show that Stone Age farmers took their knowledge to different parts of Europe as they moved through the territory and intermixed with different populations. But this didn't happen with the Indus Valley population, since their genetics are different from neighboring people that developed agriculture before 8000 BC. This means that the people of the Indus Valley apparently come from an earlier civilization that developed agriculture on its own, or perhaps learned it from someone else. The question then is, who taught the people of the Indus these advanced techniques? Considering that the Indus Valley civilization is older than the Egyptian and Sumerian civilizations, it is also worth asking, Were the people of the Indus Valley the ones who transmitted this knowledge to the ancient Egyptians and Sumerians? On the other hand, the development of a complete standardized system of seals, measures, tools, and utensils served the Harappan civilization to develop international trade with populations as distant as those of the Arabian Gulf, Mesopotamia, and southern India, as evidenced by seals found in those areas. Experts believe that most of the city's inhabitants were merchants and craftsmen skilled in working metals such as copper, bronze, lead, and tin, as well as having great skill in working ceramics and making bricks. In fact, they were so good that many of their creations have been found in other distant towns in the region, probably due to trade. Despite all this high level of planning and development, one of the aspects that have most attracted the attention of researchers is the fact that the cities in the Indus Valley lack palaces, temples, and monuments that could indicate any ceremonial practice. There is also no evidence that there was any central authority, such as a king or queen, regulating the activity within the cities. This is something unheard of for a Bronze Age civilization, as these cultures were highly autocratic, relying on caste systems. A good number of studies suggest that Mohenjo-Daro was a city with a community government system, with a designated group of people selected to carry out specific government tasks. Every city probably had some sort of council that, in turn, answered to a more central council that was responsible for the entire country. Considering the distance between all the various cities of the Harappan civilization, this structure of government is highly impressive. The form of government of the Harappan civilization even made the UNESCO Courier Journal publish an entire article titled "The Indus Valley Civilization, Cradle of Democracy," theorizing the possibilities that democracy was invented by the Indus Valley, thousands of years before the ancient Greeks. Another surprising thing is the lack of any huge temples for worship. If we compare it with the Egyptian and Sumerian civilizations, which were full of temples worshiping different deities, it will make the Harappan civilization extremely unique. So far, the Great Bath seems to be the only structure in the city that could be considered a ceremonial monument. Apparently, the people of the Indus had a particular preference for cleanliness and organization, so much so that some experts believe that it's very likely that they had some kind of religious or esoteric practice in which the concept of cleanliness or purification was dominant. There are even indications that these religious or ceremonial events were held in the citadel, which also reinforces the idea that these people probably worshipped water in some way. This characteristic is very different from the culture of ancient Egypt, which is replete with temples, tombs, and other majestic monuments, as well as deep worship of their god-kings we know as pharaohs. On the other hand, archaeologists have found Indo-seals and artistic figures that could be related to some religious beliefs. A good example of this is a figurine found during early excavations at Mohenjo-Daro. This figurine is known as the Priest King. However, many experts believe that this figure doesn't represent any religious personality, as there is no solid evidence to support this belief. Another famous handicraft found at Mohenjo-Daro is a female figure of just 4.25 inches made of bronze that has been called Dancing Girl for its peculiar features. In this figure, the girl holds her left leg and hand, seemingly ready to follow the rhythm of a dance, probably of a ceremonial or religious type. Her left arm features 25 bracelets, apparently used to help shape her limbs. This has been a common practice in some cultures around the world, as is the case today with the Kayan, a subgroup of Karenni people. Some experts believe that these figures and other items from the culture of the Indus people may actually represent a variety of religious beliefs and practices, or a variety of gods, just as they did in ancient Egypt. Even with all these elements, none of them represents concrete proof that the Harappan civilization had a strictly religious or esoteric practice, as this is only speculation and theory. In the end, there is something on which most experts agree. Much of the mystery behind the Harappan civilization can only be unraveled when the greatest of its mysteries is solved: its script. Although experts have already managed to decipher much of the culture's way of life and their city-building methods, most of its mysteries remain hidden behind the veil of its script. Unlike what has happened with Egyptian hieroglyphics or the Mayan language, the Harappan script is reluctant to be deciphered. The mystery behind the undecipherable Harappan script baffled scientists for so long that since 2004, there has been a $10,000 cash prize for anyone who can decipher a Harappan text of around 50 characters. Not surprisingly, no one has managed to do that. With this culture wrapped in so much mystery, deciphering its script could be the only key that would allow us to unlock its secrets. Today, hundreds of symbols belonging to the Harappan people have been found on a large number of craft objects of all kinds, including ceramic and metal handcrafts. The majority of these symbols depict animal and human figures. Others believe that the symbols represent a series of seals used for commercial transactions. Another aspect that works against the Harappan script as a form of written language is that most of the inscriptions usually have only 4 or 5 symbols drawn on small surfaces about an inch long, and the longest known Harappan script doesn't reach 30 characters. This is very different from what can normally be seen in the writing systems of other ancient civilizations, which often have more than 100 characters. Nonetheless, some studies comparing the Harappan script to other systems of symbols, both linguistic and non-linguistic, discovered that the Harappan script closely resembles a written language in a high percentage of cases. This similarity applies not only to writing systems based on disordered codes like DNA, but also to ordered code systems like computer programming languages. However, there are still many doubts about the Harappan script due to the great difficulties it continues to present, even to be decoded by statistical systems run by powerful computers. One of the main problems with this script is that the messages are too short and show few examples within each sequence, which makes things difficult even for machines. On the other hand, the symbols that appear next to images vary in each stamp, thus lacking homogeneity and clarity, which further complicates a standard interpretation of this writing. This means that up to this point, any interpretation made can be considered more conjecture than fact. Another factor that also plays against the decoding of the Indus Valley text is the absence of any multilingual inscription, that is, a text written in 2 or more known and unknown languages that say exactly the same thing. The best example of this is the famous Rosetta Stone, the ancient inscription that has text written in 2 forms of Egyptian script and 1 in ancient Greek script, which greatly helped to decipher the language of ancient Egypt. Despite all the obstacles and problems against it, the work to try to decipher the Harappan script continues. Hopefully one day we'll be able to decipher the script and discover the secrets this civilization hides. What we know is that the Indus Valley civilization ended around 1700 BCE, but what happened exactly is still a mystery. Were their cities abandoned, or were they attacked by hordes of invaders from other regions? Or perhaps something else happened, which we still can't understand. Oddly enough, these questions still remain unanswered as experts have yet to find hard evidence. To date, most scientists are basically divided into 2 groups: those who believe that the cities were abandoned due to a great flood or drought of the Indus River or the Ghaggar-Hakra River, and those who believe that its inhabitants were massacred by invaders. Precisely, This last theory is the one that contributed to giving the name to the city of Mohenjo-Daro. As we already mentioned, Mohenjo-Daro means the mound of the dead. This refers to a number of human skeletons found in the city's ruins when excavations began in the 1920s. However, aside from broken statues and structures, only these human skeletons, which were around 40, were found. What happened to the rest of the 40,000 inhabitants that the city was supposed to have? Some experts consider that it's necessary to discard the theories about the end of the Harappan civilization at the hands of armed invaders, since there are several elements that don't fit in this story. First, there is no major evidence that a full-scale invasion occurred. For example, there are no signs of burned fortresses, no destructions on the walls, no remains of weapons or armor, and no large number of skeletons of civilians and soldiers scattered everywhere. This is quite mysterious considering that, according to the massacre theory, the invaders were the ancient Aryans, a people who settled during prehistoric times in what is now Iran and the northern Indian subcontinent. If there was a big battle, where are the skeletons of the fallen combatants and civilians? It is as if the earth had suddenly swallowed them. However, the theory of the massacre still remains in the minds of many. When the first excavations began at Mohenjo-Daro, the first thing that impressed the researchers was to discover that these skeletons were found in strange positions. A certain number of skeletons were found in the lower town area, a kind of residential district in what would appear to be some kind of unconventional burial ritual. But another group of skeletons was found with a strange attitude, specifically as if they wanted to escape from something or someone. It's as if death had come from inside the city and not from outside. On the other hand, the Vedic texts could give some clues about what really happened in Mohenjo-Daro. Some Vedic hymns indicate that Indra, the main god of these texts, attacked the fortresses of the Dasyu by setting them on fire. In this context, a Dasyu represents any non-Aryan enemy, such as the people of the Indus Valley. Although there are many strange theories, including a theory that suggests that some sort of advanced weapon was used to destroy the inhabitants of the cities, some researchers point out that the end of the Indus Valley civilization most likely came by more natural means. Some experts believe that a flood or a severe drought could have been the causes that forced the people of the Indus to migrate to other territories. However, researchers also point out that this natural disaster continued over time and that the inhabitants endured as much as they could, even changing a large part of their diet, as evidenced by the remains of food found in the area. One of the most technologically advanced civilizations of the Bronze Age, the Harappan civilization continues to be shrouded in mystery, and its discovery only led to more questions than answers. Although there is still much to discover, the most important thing is that we now know that this ancient civilization left an important historical and cultural legacy. And if such an important civilization was lying underground for thousands of years, and we only discovered it 100 years ago, just imagine what other secrets and mysteries still remain hidden beneath the ground. What other chapters of the development of human civilization remain undiscovered? And how advanced were ancient humans really? Long before recorded history, there were advanced ancient civilizations capable of building gigantic megalithic structures we can't build today, lifting enormous stone blocks weighing thousands of tons and stacking them with laser-like precision. Blocks we still struggle to lift even with our modern cranes. They crafted mathematically precise, flawless monuments from the hardest stone on Earth, leaving us to wonder who these builders were and how they accomplished the impossible. Were they merely primitive societies, or were they masters of a forgotten technology lost to the sands of time? Uncover the evidence of an ancient, global, and technologically sophisticated civilization that once ruled over our planet, constructing gigantic sites the ruins of which are still standing, before a cataclysmic event erased it from memory. Access our eBook, Prehistoric Megastructures, a nearly 500-page volume packed with images and in-depth analysis of some of the most astonishing and unexplained ancient structures ever discovered, monuments that were clearly built with advanced technology from a time long forgotten. There's a limited discount on the eBook, so make sure to get yours before it's too late.